I'm very hard to be indifferent towards. It's either I hate her with a passion or she's my guru. It's like there's no in between.
Is it true that you felt neglected and not loved in your home? You stated that if you've been cheated on, it's usually your fault.
Absolutely.
I mean, guy or girl?
Both.
You speak fast.
No, I speak so fast. I'm so sorry.
No, just be you.
Yeah,
I
so
like
sorry.
the way.
It's like ADHD. It's like it's on double speed, right?
Okay, so we just finished a long talk.
We did.
So you'll see in this interview with Sadia, which she says that I'm a bit late and I should have invited her much earlier.
Yes, I'm very offended.
So it's a mix. You'll see a bit of Sadia, which maybe you haven't seen in other interviews she's done, because people want to squeeze her brain all the time. I didn't not squeeze her brain. I got a lot from her brain, but also a bit of the human.
Yes.
So you'll get a blend. Enjoy. And if you like her, find her everywhere. And if you like us, always subscribe and support. And we have a duty to deliver to you the best interviews. One, two. All right. So you said it's a long time coming.
Yes, I did. I said, what took you so long? We're in the same city.
I know. I knew you were in Dubai, but I didn't know for this long.
Yeah, I live here. I call it my home. Wherever I go, I'm like, I'm from Dubai now.
Okay.
Alhamdulillah.
So Sadia, how are you really doing?
I'm good. I'm stressed, if I'm honest. I'm overwhelmed. I feel a bit overworked. And I'm actually not designed to be online. I know it sounds strange, but it's just, I'm not designed for it. I'm not one of those people that takes so much pride in people coming up to you and saying, you really helped me. You've done so much for me. I just don't get much from that. And I know it's weird. I just don't get a lot from that. I'm quite a, words just good or bad don't mean anything. So I just feel a little bit overwhelmed at this moment, but then I'm sure it will die down and then I will really miss this part of this journey. But at the moment I feel a bit overwhelmed.
How long you been popular?
Only a year, I would say. My first ever podcast was this, January 2023.
Okay.
My first ever one. Yeah, my first.
But why do you think with the information pollution we have, yours stood out or connected more than others?
All praise be to God, firstly, I would say. But mostly, I think what it is I happen to have very traditional Eastern values, but with a complete understanding of the Western philosophy at this moment in time. So I've combined what's going on in this world right now, because I was born and raised in London, but my parents are from Pakistan. I'm Muslim. I live in the Middle East, but I have these very traditional views, but a complete current understanding of what's going on in the Western world. And that combination has resonated, particularly in my Western audience. My Eastern audience kind of already knows this. They're kind of like, oh, well, yeah, that's kind of common sense, blah, blah. But my Western audience is either flabbergasted by how insulting it is and how backwards it is, or they really feel really refreshed by it because it's a set of norms and values which I think most people truly connect with if they do think about it. It will only lead to a more stable, calm life if you do follow a slightly more calm set of values, but it polarizes people a lot. They either hate it or they love it, one or the other.
So would you say people either love or hate you?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm very hard to be indifferent towards, where they just oh, I haven't even thought about it. It's either I hate her with a passion or she's my guru. It's there's no in between. So, but that was always who I was. Even before online, I've always been quite a triggering personality. It's always been who I am. It's always just, I've always led to more of a reaction in people than I realize. So it was kind of predicted. Would you say that do you trigger people or not so much? What's your reaction? Is it?
I think people are 50-50 about
okay.
it.
But I would say that you come across really well though. More liked than anything else.
Depends where.
Okay.
I would think females are more okay with me. Males, depends. If you're a confident man, I think you're cool with me.
Yeah.
If you're insecure and I'm highlighting some things that you don't like, you hate me.
Yeah.
But I'm cool with people, and I think I come off because I don't smile too often. People think I'm arrogant, but when they meet me, they're like, "Oh, you're actually nice,"
Yeah.
and I get that often.
Ah, okay. So, but generally, when you're out and about, people are nice to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm blessed to be loved.
Yes, it is a big blessing.
Yeah.
Particularly if you're loved for
The
your
right-
own opinions.
Yes.
Yeah, if you're loved as an athlete or loved as an actor, it's like an external reason why people are in love with you. But when they're in love with you for your mind, it's quite an amazing experience.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's incredible.
I like the point. There was a kid that stopped me at a restaurant and he said, you know, I can't wait to be famous. And I was like, why would you want to be famous? He said, no, I just want to be famous. I'm like, yeah, but why? Because you could run off naked in the street and you'll be famous, but maybe for the wrong reasons. But you'll still be famous if I'm following your goal.
Yeah.
So why do you want to be famous is the question. So to be famous for a mindset, it's a beautiful thing because it's you.
Yeah, it's very lucky because this is what sometimes, because I get so much hate, they're like, we can't wait to cancel you, you're going to get cancelled. I'm like, but I'm still Sadia. You cancel me, I still carry this mind with me wherever I go. I'm still going to be me. How can you cancel my personality? I still live with this brain and this mindset. So what are you going to do? Take my brain? Like, it's not going to happen. So I feel uncancelable because if you work in like as an athlete or a star or something like that, you can literally cut whatever stream of income you've got or that whatever it is that's made you famous. But if you're known for your mindset, you carry that with you with or without the fame. So it's quite a nice, we're very blessed to be in this position.
How would you, if I asked you, who are you, Sadia? How would you describe yourself?
On a basic fundamental level, I would just say I am a Muslim woman in the modern world and who seems to be having a very strong understanding of the human mind and human behavior. And I've used that skill set to kind of publicize what I thought was common knowledge, but I don't think it is as much. And just as a result, managed to create a little bit of a platform where I've helped a lot of people, but also hurt a lot of people with my words. So that's what I think who Sadia is today, that's what I would say is.
And how would you summarize, if I really go back to your childhood and I say, describe it in 3 words? What are the 3 words?
I would say an extrovert, but also it was a very strange childhood, only because I was super like popular and adored outside of the home, but in my home I was really left out and really ignored. So I was these 2 people. I was this super unpopular person in my house with my siblings, but then this super popular person outside. So the person I was in the home was just not the person how people would respond to me. So I had this real conflict of, am I liked or am I not liked? And that's where I kind of got like that bipolar in me. Like I'm either like really liked or really hated, and that was how I grew up, with that kind of conflict of like being not so accepted by my siblings, but really accepted by my friends. And I just didn't know where I stood. I didn't know if people actually like me or hate me.
So we would say strange, we would say extrovert, and one more?
I would say helpful.
Helpful. Why would you say helpful?
I feel privileged when people ask me to help them. I don't feel burdened by it.
Even when you were young?
Even when I was young. If someone, like, you know how people would be like, oh, you only call me when you want something? I would always feel privileged that you think of me when you need someone to help you. Even though you haven't spoken to me in ages, when you need someone to help me, you call me. I always saw it as a positive thing. So when people only call me because they want something, I'm actually like, oh, I'm grateful that I come to mind when you need someone to help, rather than I don't get annoyed by that.
And how was it being in a Pakistani home, but in the UK?
Difficult. It was very, very difficult because I was in a school that was entirely like English. So I was totally different. I wasn't allowed out. I'm never allowed a boyfriend. I'm never allowed to drink alcohol, nothing. I wasn't allowed to show my arms, show any part of my body. It was just never allowed. So when you have that, you have 2 choices. You either totally rebel and just think, screw this, I'm going to do everything that my parents tell me not to. Or what I did instead is internalize and attach to the rules I was given and think these rules must be better than that lifestyle. So I think I went down more the route because there was no way I could rebel. My dad like watches me, even now he watches me like a hawk. So I don't have a choice. I couldn't really rebel. So what my brain did is think, well, it must be for the best. It must be for the best. And because I was religious and stuff, I kind of understood it. So I always kind of disassociated with what's going on in the world and what's going on in society and the trends. I didn't see it as, oh, I wish I was part of that. I saw it as, I'm so glad I'm not part of that. And I was happy to be the outsider. And that's where the happy to be the outlier on social media comes from. I was like, I was always different anyway, so it's not the end of the world.
And is it true that you felt neglected and not loved in your home?
I felt it from my siblings. My parents are very loving. My parents were always super loving, but my siblings were not, and I don't know why, and they're still like that. It's still very much like that. I was just never really accepted by my siblings. There's lots of girls in my, and this is where I kind of, you know how people kind of mention how I have a real male perspective quite a lot. I think when you grow up in a home full of girls and you see how mean they are to each other and you see how they bond a lot by hating somebody. You know, they'll spend hours talking about how much they hate this cousin or that auntie or this, and I just remember thinking, I don't like this kind of conversation. But yeah, I was always encouraged to be a girl's girl. But I was like, but I don't enjoy like what comes out of being just surrounded by just a bunch of girls. It can get a bit bitchy. So I always kind of was a bit androgynous. I was a bit like because I didn't gel with them so much, I kind of was always more comfortable in a mixed environment, all men, because with girls I just used to associate it with being mean, because I was raised like that, and that's how, a bit of a mean girl environment, so I used to associate it with being mean.
How many are you?
5.
And how many girls and guys?
4 girls and 1 boy. Boy right at the end.
Oh wow.
Yeah, my parents were not stopping until they got the boy. There was no stopping them.
And why did you choose to be a relationship coach, I would say?
Yeah, I think at first it was just psychology. It was just like I was just really passionate and interested in psychology because I could feel the impact it was having on me being so left out. I could feel like I was way more insecure than the average person. I was way more jealous than the average person. I used to get jealous, you know, even with my mum spending too much time with other siblings, I used to get jealous. And I was thinking, how come nobody else is feeling this way? So I was curious about my own insecurities. So that led me to just study psychology. And what I found is relationship is the only part of psychology that everybody can relate to. Every single person has curiosity when it comes to their romantic relationships. So I realized that if I understand this area of life, I'll understand most people. This is the quickest way to understand pretty much everybody. Not everybody will, you know, go into educational psychology. Not everybody will care about, you know, depression, anxiety, but everybody will care about relationships, every single person. So I found that the more I kind of understood this area, the more I understood people in general. So that kind of was the gravitational pull towards relationship psychology.
Then what is it now?
Now it's just a case of because I do so much therapy and I am so on the ground when it comes to it, I just find it the easiest thing to understand. Once you understand the male psychology and the female psychology, understanding relationships is super, super easy. So I just feel like if I have this understanding, I would like to share it with people. You might not, like I was saying to you before, you might not agree with me right now, but in 10 years' time, 20 years' time, 30 years' time, what I'm saying to you will make some sense because I get to see what patterns happen throughout people's lives when it comes to relationships because of my clients. When I'm telling you something that sounds like I'm being extreme, it's only because I see the outcome in the long run. So that's why I'm trying to save people from their own potential issues in the long run.
You speak fast.
No, I speak so fast. I'm so sorry.
No, just be you.
Yeah,
I
so
like
sorry.
the way.
It's like ADHD. It's like it's on double speed, right?
It's okay. It will keep the energy going. We will balance each other.
Yeah.
What do you do that you feel is different than anybody else?
I think that I don't follow trends. I don't follow because everybody else is saying this. I don't follow that. I try and stay very segregated from trends. But I also think I am super objective with men and women. I think most coaches or most therapists have some bias towards their gender. So whether, like they'll say mainly from a man's perspective, mainly from a woman's perspective, I like to think that I'm totally neutral when it comes to gender. I can say something that is against women, I can say something that's against myself, I can say something against men. It just doesn't bother me. Gender doesn't affect how I see the world. So I think the neutrality is what I would probably say is a bit different.
Do you think you're qualified to be a relationship coach?
Yeah, I think that like look, the qualifications is in the outcomes. If it's helping you, whoever's giving you the information, there are some people out there that have got PhDs in X, Y, Z, but what they're telling you is not leading to outcomes. There's other people that have no qualifications and it's leading to outcomes. I would say a healthy balance is when they have the qualifications, but the advice is actually leading to positive outcomes. If you are listening to the advice and you're getting positive outcomes, your clients or just people in general are getting the positive outcomes, that makes anybody qualified.
It's a nice balance.
Yeah.
And you speak a lot about love, but how is your love life?
Good. Well, it took a long time to get good. I would always say it took a very long time. I was it's only recently my partner's been saying to me, you really calm down and you're really like a calm person these days. Who are you? But I was the most jealous, anxious, insecure, paranoid person most of my life. I was super, super paranoid because I felt like I understood, the outcome of relationships really well. I was like, well, this is going to lead to that, and that's going to lead to this, and that, blah, blah. And I would just connect all these dots and come like prepared for the worst case scenario all the time. So it would look like constant accusations, constant anxieties, and needing non-stop reassurance to the point where it was draining, super, super draining. I think over the years and just maturing, I kind of realized that I'd rather one day be massively hurt than spend every single day predicting how I'm going to be hurt and accusing my partner and worrying about this. Even if I have to, even if one day I get massively hurt, I'd rather wait for that one day and be hurt than spend every single day monitoring my partner, fighting with him, asking him what happened in 2004 at 8 p.m. I can't be bothered anymore. So I think letting go of that and enjoying the process. And if we get hurt, I'll be fine. Worst case scenario, I'll be fine. But let me just try and enjoy the process.
It's a nice, pragmatic thought. To consider to switch, but does that mean any woman or man watching this that has what you say you had, you know, jealous, insecure, anxious, paranoia?
Have you ever been with somebody like that or no?
Not high. I wouldn't say on a high level.
Calm people.
Yeah, I think I don't know if I was with calm people, but the question is, if somebody's that much the way you described, do they have hope to reach what you're saying you've reached?
Yeah, they do, but it comes in their self-esteem, not in their partner so much. I would say it's a good combination. Choose a partner that is naturally calm and trustworthy, somebody who does soothe you and calms you, but also having a realization that if you work on yourself enough, that if worst case scenario does happen, no one dies from a breakup. You'll be okay. So if worst case scenario, your partner turns out to be the worst thing behind your back, you will live. You will move on. And this is a sad reality. People think that they are with the love of their life, and if worst case scenario happens, they'll never be able to recover. Everybody gets over everybody. Everybody is forgettable at some stage, sadly. So the more you realize that you will be okay, the more you can actually enjoy it and be present in the moment rather than just worrying constantly.
Sadia, you think that all jealousy is rooted in insecurity?
I think it's a combination. I do think it's an insecurity, but also having a partner that ignites it in you. Yeah, sometimes we do have partners that we just know, we don't know what it is, but there's a gut feeling that they're lying to us. There's a gut feeling that we can't trust them. But I would still say there's an insecurity in staying with partners like that. So there's still an underlying insecurity. So jealousy, I think there's healthy and unhealthy. Healthy jealousy would be the environment or the situation that you're currently in, by whatever reason, is causing you to be a bit jealous. Let's say, for example, you realize that your partner's having to go work and their ex shows up and stuff. It's natural to get jealousy, it's circumstantial. But unhealthy jealousy is you're choosing a partner you truly don't trust. Their behavior is showing you you can't trust them. You're constantly anxious and jealous, but you don't have the strength to walk away. So that is the more unhealthy one. Circumstantial, you should get jealous, everybody. But habitual and continuous jealousy, you should have the willingness to walk away. What do you think? Do you think it's always insecurity?
No, I'm more on your side of this. I think there is natural, God-given creation jealousy. You see it in the animal kingdom, you see it in human beings, you see it between siblings.
Yeah.
So obviously with lovers it would happen. But I do think, like you said, there is the like circumstantial. But I think a lot of it has to do with insecurity.
Yeah.
And the more secure you are and the more you realize your worth, not because you watch 10 TikTok videos, but because you actually feel you're a worthy person. It's like when
You're
you
fulfilling
said
your potential.
somebody's trying to stop you and you're like, how will you stop my brain? You know the value of your brain.
Okay.
And if you feel I'm an asset to a human being and they're an asset to me, even if my heart breaks, I will miss them, I will be sad, but I'm still an asset. Like they don't determine my value.
Yeah.
But if your value is determined outwardly, then of course, if that person goes, you feel worthless.
Yeah.
It's how a narcissist make you feel. You're nothing without me and all of that. Who will take you? Who would love you? But I think it's about self-worth a lot, and I think insecurity after the circumstantial.
Yeah.
Anything beyond is like, because you said if he triggers you, I agree. Some partners can trigger jealousy, like they'll be sneaky or mysterious. And
like
if
not
that's your
transparent,
that's your wound, they're just dabbling with it, and you're starting to bleed. But sometimes a person could have a safe person, but then they're not dealing with their insecurity, or they're using their last relationship's mess and trauma and throwing it on this new person who probably is a nice guy.
Yeah, that can.
And she's like, yeah, but where were you? So she's like, I was with my brother. And then it's too much of that can also be toxic for the good guy. And it's really scary.
Yeah.
You know that.
It's hard to know the difference. Yeah, it's really hard to know, and which is why I place a lot of emphasis. Unfortunately, I tell a lot of your happiness in a relationship will be determined by your selection process. People think it's just having the right skills. They're like, teach me the skills of how do I resolve conflict, but without correct selection, there's very little you can do. So if you select a partner who's continuously and habitually anxious and accusing you, unfortunately, there's not much you can do to reassure them. Similarly, if you choose a partner who's constantly triggering you, there's no amount of breathing exercises and crystals that you can hold on to that will calm you down. So selection is really the biggest predictor of the success of the relationship.
That's a good, like, how do you select better? Because, you know, we're different.
We are.
Love languages are different, ethics are different, values are different. Like, is there a general way to go about it, or is it so tailored?
Well, I do always say that I really now truly understand why arranged marriages worked so well throughout centuries, and why they worked so well is because you would have two families that would select another family that is similar to them. And by default, what would happen is those kids of those two families understand each other's norms and values really well because their parents have similar norms and values. So they would select you where the childhood is compatible and the culture is compatible. Now we're kind of free to choose whoever we want. So we forget that component in how important that is in our compatibility. We just choose people who like the same music, who look great, and who might like the same movies. But really what will determine our compatibility is our childhood and our cultural experiences and our values from that experience. And when they're not aligned, unfortunately, it's a matter of time before they show up in the relationship and you just don't know how to resolve conflict because your families did it so differently or your culture does it so differently. And so I do think that how you choose better is have a look at people's homes. When you walk into their homes, their mum and dad, their environment, does it feel like home? If it feels like home, then chances are you'll understand each other quite well. If it feels completely and utterly foreign, it will be a little bit trickier. It doesn't mean it can't work, it'll just be a little bit trickier. Which is really, really why big cities like London, Dubai, where it's such an eclectic mix of people, why marriages are a little bit difficult to sustain. Whereas when you go into the countryside where everyone just marries who they went to school with, they tend to last longer. It's their norms and values that are more similar.
So does that mean Sadia will marry because of an arranged marriage?
No, I didn't. I should have done that, but I didn't do that. Yeah.
Have you ever been married, by the way?
I am.
Oh, you're married now?
Well, I'm settled. Yeah, I am. Yeah, so that's why. But
first one?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when did you choose to settle with your partner?
About a year ago. About a year.
So can I say your age?
Yeah.
So,
I was 33, something like 34, something like that.
So why would Muslim, Asian, coming from a conservative religious family,
Yeah.
which I'm sure encourage marriage at a
Yeah.
younger age, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Why would you wait till 33?
I think it was just a case of like I described, I was super, super anxious.
Hmm.
I was so anxious and so unable to calm that side of me. I just had this like kind of really confrontational nature. I would always confront, and because I was like, well, I know I'm going to be right about this. I know I'm going to be right about this. It was easier for me to just predict problems and then just not get involved. I was like, well, I can't be bothered then because this is going to lead to that and that's going to lead to that trauma, and then you were going to. But then I think what happens when you meet somebody healthy, you kind of have to drop your weapons. You kind of think, okay, I can't find what the problem is here, so I have to look internally, and that had led to me calming down. And of course you want to start a family as well, and you're like, okay, I can't keep pushing this anymore. So I think, yeah, but you know, if it was really up to me, I would have been, because I'm so full as a person, I could easily go the rest of my life. I probably could have gone the rest of my life without needing a relationship, because I'm more a kid's person than I am a man's person. I've never been a boy crazy, got to be in a relationship kind of person. I was always the opposite. All my friends needed to be in a marriage or relationship. I could easily be single forever. It just was never a need in me. But when you do find something healthy, you're like, okay, it would be stupid not to settle down.
You said kid person?
Yeah, I love
So you
children.
like children?
Yeah, too much.
So if you went single all of your life, you would have adopted, you mean?
Yeah, probably. That's what I would have done. If I was single and I didn't meet somebody, I would have adopted somehow. But the only problem that I find now is that I would love to adopt. I have no problems with adopting, but I like my genetics. So I think I would have struggled if I was single, because I would be like, I wonder if my child would be this much like how annoying I am. I wonder if my child would have that. You love being a parent?
Yeah, I think I'm a better parent when they grow older.
Oh, okay. You prefer them when
Because I'm a communicative human.
Right.
Once they understand me, then it's all good. Then we become friends, and it's different. We
Did you
discuss.
find it difficult when they were little?
Not difficult, but most of the credit goes to my ex-wife. She was great, and she's still great with them. And I do believe, this is a very generic thing to say, I do believe it's more natural to women to nurture children and to nurture even societies.
Yeah.
It comes to them. That's why I think more women should be in leadership roles, because you deal with humans.
Yeah.
And women, through studies, you can tell that they look at the collective way more than the individualistic. They care about healthcare, they care about education, they care about your insurance. A lot of men in senior positions, they're very ego-driven, or let's do this, which is also good in some things.
It's balance.
But you need more balance.
Yeah.
You need more women in leadership roles that have to do with healthcare and well-being of people and unity. So coming back to the parenting, I think the formative years of us as humans is very important, that the mother's love is there and present.
Yeah,
Men, I think we come in more as hopefully values and ethics and how to go about life and how to, I don't know, be responsible, be a true responsible human. I think I enjoy that more.
Yeah, well, one of the things I've noticed that's quite interesting since I've been doing therapy is men who don't have a good relationship with their fathers always have terrible relationships with mothers. It's their relationship with their father that is a really big predictor. And what I find particularly in the world today, the reason why men are suffering so much with relationships is they seem to have a very feminine version of what a father should be. They'll come to me and they'll say, I never speak to my dad. I've never spoken to my dad because he was never nurturing. He was always trying to just work and make money, and he was always about work. He never cared about us like the way my mum did. But they forget that that's how men show their love. It's through the sacrifices outside of the home rather than in the home. And they start to resent that part of a man, but really that's what makes men masculine. And they don't give their dad a chance, and they just hate their dad. But then when they have that mentality, they lose some of their masculinity. And that's why they suffer in relationships. So I think understanding that men's role as fathers is supposed to be a bit more value-driven, monetary, from making sure that the roof is over your head and food's on the table. Assigning appreciation to that rather than seeing that as neglectful is really important. And a lot of men have misunderstood that as being a neglectful father, when really it's the important part of a father.
Yeah, and I think once you understand the love languages, you understand that you probably were loved all along from your father. If he's there to really put you through school, and a lot of, especially Middle Eastern men,
Yeah.
they weren't our fathers and their fathers weren't brought up to hug.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they
Yeah.
weren't brought up to say, by the way, I love you, I'm so proud of you, which now is changing, which is
Yeah.
good. But you have to not also overjudge them
Yeah.
on a software that was never installed.
Yeah, I
You
have
know?
a client it would never speak to his dad since he was 14. He's like, because my dad hit me, and I was like, but your dad is like an 8-year-old Indian man. Like, hitting was what they thought was discipline. I'm not justifying it. I don't agree with hitting children, but in that day, they didn't know any better. So to judge them permanently for what they did to you when you were 12, for the rest of your life, you're setting yourself up for disaster. You set your own self up for disaster, because unfortunately, you can never have a fulfilling life when you hate a parent. You really can't. So you almost have to selfishly forgive them and selfishly try and understand them. I know there's cases of molestation and like horrible things. In those cases, I can truly understand. But if it's human error, if you want a healthy life for yourself, try and find a way to forgive and understand them.
Yeah, I like what you said.
Sadly, it's just for your own sake. I've been there at times where I fight with my mum. I don't really fight with my dad, but I fight with my mum, and I'll be like, oh, I'm not going to talk to her for a month. I suffer in that month. She's got other kids. I don't have other mums. So I suffer. So selfishly, I'll be like, okay, fine, like, let's just get over it. Because I know I suffer. So I think humans in general, unfortunately, we're designed to love our parents. Good or bad, we're designed for it. And when we don't love them, unfortunately, we go through our life not loving or not being able to be loved correctly in relationships.
I was just watching yesterday the Monsters show on Netflix.
What is that?
What?
Oh, the boys that killed their mum and dad. Because they wanted Rolex.
Did you watch?
You know what? Can you tell me whether they did it or they didn't do it?
I don't know. But
I don't know.
Can you watch, then call me?
I do know the story. But I don't. Were they actually abused, or was
It's
it?
crazy, but it's worth a watch. Like, I even
I'll
called him. I'm
definitely
like,
have a
did you see episode 5? The director
It's
was wow.
fantastic.
Wow, the acting, the story, directing. It's really good, but it's jaw dropping. You're like, how can a parent do that like that? It's a bit extreme, but you have to watch it.
Okay.
I won't spoil it or anyone. What does love mean to you, Sadia?
It's a way of respecting and cherishing your partner both in and outside of their presence. And what I mean by that, not just partner, your children, your parents, in and outside of their presence is a really important part. We can love people to their face, but then if behind their back we're being disrespectful, behind their back we're talking negatively about them, we're talking to other people, we are disrespecting them in any way, shape or form, it's not truly love, there's some kind of attachment. But true love is that you cherish and are caring towards, doesn't mean your relationship's perfect. You have conflict, you have issues, but you have a willingness to resolve that. But you maintain the same integrity to their face as you do behind their back. You don't turn into a different person. And if there's a discrepancy between how somebody's treating you to your face and what they're doing behind your back, then they're not actually in love with you. And I think this is where a lot of people go wrong. They're like, oh, I know she cheats on me every day, but I know she loves me. But she can't love you. If behind your back she's a different person, she can't love you. Or she might say that I know he really loves me, but behind my back he watches all this porn and he does. Then there's not enough love and respect there. So it's having a congruence between how they treat you to your face and how they behave behind your back. What would you say?
What about somebody who speaks so well about you behind your back, but in front of you they don't know how to?
But then there's no congruency.
Yeah, but it's the opposite.
The opposite, then it's still not well.
Can you say maybe they're not good at being vulnerable?
Yeah, there's people that have their walls up. But one thing I would say, because I meet so many women especially, they're with men, that just hate saying I love you, hate being affectionate, but behind their back they'll say my wife is fantastic, she's the best thing ever, and I couldn't be luckier. It's torture. It's emotional torture being with that. And I say to a lot of girls, like, are you sure? Because they're in the early stages. They're just in the first, 6 months and they haven't had kids and they haven't got married. I was like, are you sure you want to sign up to this? It's a difficult life. It's not easy being that, because women require emotional connection and emotional vulnerability the same way men require physical connection. Without that, they become a shell of themselves. They become super insecure, super paranoid, like they feel ugly all the time. They're constantly second guessing themselves. Whereas when you are emotionally vulnerable and like, you know, pleasant to your partner, it's like watering a plant. You see your partner flourish. So it's difficult, but I would say if you truly love your partner, you try and meet their needs, and if they need you to be more emotionally available, you try and do that.
Do you think, Sadia, any of your childhood experiences or traumas affected your relationships?
Yeah, directly. It was always, because I was always left out, I always assumed something's going on behind my back. Always, something's going on behind my back. So if someone's like, if he says to me, I'm going to the gym, I'm like, but who's at the gym? Where, like, which gym is she? Where is it? This. So it was, my brain would always go to worst case scenario. So I always assume there's something going on behind my back. Always. And then when you keep getting proven wrong, you start to think, okay, maybe I need to stop thinking that there's always something going on behind my back. And maybe it's okay. Maybe that's not happening. And even if it is, one day I'll find out and then I'll deal with it, instead of constantly checking. How did your traumas affect your relationships?
I'm just starting to get, I don't have a lot of serious relationships. Like in my whole 43 years on this earth, it's too serious.
How long were they?
One was my marriage, which was 9 years. You see how this shit is happening, by the way, now? Like, she's switching things on me. What about you? I'm supposed to be asked. 9 years is
9
one.
years.
But that was like a baby marriage. I was 24, she was 19.
Oh.
So, you
9
know,
years there. And then
God bless that. And then recently, in the last few years, there was a 2-year relationship, but one of them was serious. Like one of 2
Right,
years
1, 2.
were really serious.
What's a common complaint that, like, you might be getting from feedback?
I don't know. I think in my marriage, it was, if I have to put an umbrella, it was very different people. But we didn't date properly like nowadays how people do. You hardly know the person. So there's a general incompatibility. And we're young. So by the time you're 34, or it's like you're another human being. 20s, you're just changing software every year.
Yeah.
So I think we just started to do this.
But
Now,
you're glad you had your children with that person.
Yeah,
that's
she's lovely.
Sometimes I say to people, I say to my clients, in this day and age, just pick one person, have all your kids with them. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, go enjoy your life. But have your kids with one good person. Having your kids with the wrong person is the biggest mistake you can
and that's when I realized marrying into a good family is crucial, because you can tell much more in the divorce.
Yes, absolutely. I did say in another podcast, I say, marry somebody that you can successfully divorce. If somebody you know that if worst case scenario, I divorce this person, I know the grandparents are fantastic, I know that they're not greedy, I know I can leave the kids blindly and not worry that how will they turn out. And I know this person won't come for me in a way that I can't recognize. That's the person you should marry. Whereas if you choose somebody you're madly in love with, but you know if you get on the wrong side of them, they're going to ruin your life, don't choose that person.
That's a good way of looking at it.
It's negative though, right? It's super
I don't
negative.
see. I think it's pragmatic.
Yeah, well,
You know?
Look, unfortunately, I would be naive in saying it's going to last forever. That in this day and age, it's not always that easy. So the best thing we can do is pick one person that you can have a great, if worst case scenario happens, great co-parent. Have all your kids with that person, and then get a vasectomy. And enjoy your life. That's terrible advice, isn't it? But I say it a lot too. Like if I have a client that's an athlete or successful, I'm like, pick one good woman that maybe you went to high school with, have all your kids, and then chop it up and enjoy your life with a bunch of strippers. It's fine.
Yes, I don't know. I don't have the breadth of relationships. There were many casual and short-lived relationships.
Why do you think that is? Do you think you might be hyper-independent?
Very independent. We're also spoiled for choice. I think also in a world where you can meet a lot of people, but if you're too busy, you don't get to meet them properly. That's not a good thing. I think when you've already done the marriage bit and you've already had the family bit, those were incentives. When you're single and you've never been married and you've never had kids, whether you think it's playing a part or not, it's a driver. You're looking to find the partner to be a parent. But when those things are ticked, then it's completely dependent on companionship only. Is she my buddy?
Yeah.
Is she somebody I want to be with for the next 30, 40 years, 50 years, right?
Yeah.
So then there's no other incentives.
Yeah, there's none of that.
So it's
like
pure.
need. It's more just if you want to. And unfortunately, there's like, then you can just enjoy almost forever, especially in like cool cities when you're constantly meeting people. But do you want to settle down again or not so much?
I'm neutral.
Okay.
Before I would have said probably no, but once I tried a serious relationship for the second time, finally in my life, I realized how bland casual relationships are. I'm not saying they're all bad. Like even I'm against.
They have their uses.
Yeah, there could be very part-time if you're a very busy person. When you have time to date, you date or you go out, whatever, right? There's a positive to it because you're hyper-focused on your show, on your business, on your family, whatever, right? So that's the good side. The negative side is you never go deep. If you see somebody once a week and you communicate limitedly,
It's just
how much
passing
do you
time.
how much intimacy is there?
Yeah.
But when you try intimacy, you're like, shit, this is quite cool. You know, like there is a depth. Like
nice.
you could be with your partner and you just go like, they know you. They're like, leave now. Okay. And then you have that.
You have that connection. But true intimacy makes monogamy quite easy. When you have intimacy with somebody, monogamy becomes quite easy. You're not dying to be with a bunch of other people. But on the shallow kind of relationships and casual ones, there's still a level of you that's still looking elsewhere. So if you are somebody who's struggling with monogamy, you're probably struggling with intimacy, not monogamy. Work on your intimacy with your partners and you'll find monogamy a natural process as an outcome.
I told this to my son.
Yes?
So I want my sons to approach the idea of women differently to how we were brought up. We were brought up with the music videos with 20 women, and the more women you have, the more masculine you are, the more relationships you're like, oh wow, this guy has all the girls, right?
Yeah.
But I don't like that programming that we had as men. So I told my son, who's now in his puberty years and teenage years, I told him, Baba, if you at the end of your life come and tell me, Dad, I was in love 4 times, I loved them truly, I was honest, and you know, the last one, for example, I married, I'll be so proud of you, rather than you say, I knew 40 women.
Yeah.
And it's like nothing to brag about.
No.
So seek intimacy, not count.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what I want my kids to look for.
Yeah, because it's such a wrong way to look at it, because like this whole way of like bragging about endless amount of women, it just shows that you weren't able to maintain a woman. And a true masculinity is able to be responsible and maintain her rather than just sleeping with her and running away. That's what low value men did in the hunter-gatherer times. They would just inseminate and then run away like a fly would. But a true man, like a lion, it's the ability to be responsible and considerate of lots of women and make them feel like they want to stay with you forever. If you have a bunch of girls that were happy for you to just have a one-night stand with you, you're not impressing any of them. So it actually shows the more women you slept with, it just shows how many women were not impressed enough by you to want to make something long about you. Because trust me, when women truly like what they see, they don't let go. They'll share you. They will be your mistress. So if you've got a bunch of women that you slept with, that's a bunch of women that were not impressed by what they saw. Yeah, so it's nothing to brag about.
I have some more technical questions. Can I get
Please.
the red card? I wanted to make sure that I ask them. All right, thanks.
Oh, these are cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Is it a game?
No.
Oh, okay.
But some of them are,
Okay,
I would say, quirky ones.
Yeah.
But some are. So you gave me your thoughts on arranged marriages. Why do people cheat?
I think it's a combination of things. I think that most importantly, they selected a partner they couldn't truly be themselves with. This is where the majority of the cases that I see where people cheat, they've chosen a partner where they had to wear a little bit of a mask, either because their partner is not who they're truly attracted to, but they saw other qualities that they liked in their partner. Maybe he's financially stable, maybe she's really a great mom, maybe she would be a great mother, or whatever it is. So they chose a partner that they couldn't truly be completely honest and completely themselves with, or their partner's too sensitive. So when they tell their partner like, hey, I want to do this, I want to try that, I want to go here, their partner's too sensitive and doesn't take that feedback. So what happens is, because they didn't truly get what they truly wanted, they settle to begin with, and they, they've tried saying something and their partner keeps rejecting them, they feel justified in cheating. They feel justified, like, okay, I can go find someone else because I asked them and they didn't seem interested. So that's usually the first reason. But the second reason is, and the most important one, is how they grew up. If they grew up in a very loving home, what happens is they don't select partners just to be with them because they are lonely. They select partners that they're actually truly compatible with. And as a result, they only choose people that they actually are in love with and then go on to have a relationship. When you grow up in a broken home, or you grow up with some kind of trauma, you choose partners hoping that they'll save you from some of the pain that you're already in. And when you realize that they can't save you, you think the savior might be in another person, and another person, and another person. But because you're codependent, you don't want to let go of the first one. You just keep testing and testing and testing. So I think it's a combination of your partner not being who you truly can be yourself with, and your childhood not being one that prepares you for monogamy and a long-lasting relationship. But I would say the number one reason why men get cheated on is when they don't show masculinity. They don't show any protective jealousy. What happens with men that constantly get cheated on, usually what happens with men that I find that get cheated on, they don't get cheated on once. Every girl that they get with cheats on them, every single time, because they're lacking something, and it's usually their masculinity. They're just super naive. Anything a woman says, every time she comes home, whatever she wants to do, they say, okay baby, they're just a doormat. So what ends up happening is, women who are actually good, strong, faithful women, they don't like that. They want you to be a little bit more like assertive and dominant. But women who want complete freedom and want to cheat, they like men like this. So they end up only being compatible with women that cheat. So they're lacking something in their masculinity that also enables cheating. And where women get cheated on, I find that they tend to be hypersensitive. Any feedback their man gives them, they'll get so upset that he can't be himself around her, and then he ends up living a second life. So those combinations can attract cheating.
Very interesting. Do you think sometimes men would cheat because they don't feel like proper men or respected or important in their relationship, so they go look for somebody who gives them that feeling?
You know what's so interesting, that I find that men after children are more likely to cheat. They find after children, and that's when they feel the least appreciated, according to them. So what I mean by that is, a lot of men, when they first have a baby, they feel invisible around their wife. Like their wife, and this is how women, good women especially, they're supposed to be hyper-focused on their children. But men start to feel unappreciated. They feel like they're just the ATM that comes home after work and nobody even acknowledges him. The kids don't even acknowledge him a lot of the time because they're so attached to their mum. Mum is absolutely exhausted, just focused on the kid. So the man just feels very neglected compared to, he used to have all of her attention, and now he has 10% of her attention. And there's no getting through to a woman in the first few years of the baby. Even if you go take her out for dinner, just the two of you, she's going to be thinking about the baby, talking about the baby, as she should. This is not any shade to her. But they feel more and more neglected. And the only way, but at the same time, this is where the trap comes in. They don't want to lose their family. So they can't get a divorce over this, because then they lose their family and the child. But at the same time, they've got this burning need that they don't know how to satisfy. So they live a separate life. And that's where the second wife comes in handy.
Do you think we are polygamous in nature?
One thing I would say is, I think with men, I do think that if they were given two wives, you would never see them cheat. I would say that if
they're given two wives, they will not cheat?
I don't think so. I really don't. I think two wives are two headaches, and that's more than enough. It's also two mother-in-laws. And then once you realize, like, being responsible for two women, how difficult it is, it takes up all your energy. But when you have one wife and then she starts to neglect you, they start to go here, there, everywhere, and they go all over the place. Whereas I do think if they just had two wives to begin with, they would probably not cheat outside of those wives. I don't think they would, from what I see. I'm not justifying.
But then, do you think then men are polygamous by nature, that they can't be satisfied with one woman?
It's not that they can't be satisfied with one woman. It's just that as a man ages, his sex drive doesn't drop. Women's does. If she maintains it, he can be totally monogamous. Totally. It's just that she doesn't always maintain it. and that's just not how we're designed. So it's not that they're polygamous, it's just that their sex drive is continuous. Whereas for women, their sex drive, particularly when they're super happy with their husband, it actually decreases. A kiss is sufficient for them. They're so happy they could go 10 years without doing the deed because they're like, I'm happy in my marriage. Why do I need to sleep with him? I did that 5 years ago. I don't need to do that anymore. So I think if they got the intimacy forever from that person, they would be fine with it. They only seek novelty when, they have an issue. But generally, as long as they're getting the intimacy, they can easily be monogamous. It's when the intimacy drops where they become polygamous.
The woman.
The man, sorry. The man becomes polygamous. When the intimacy is gone with his wife, then he becomes polygamous.
So, okay, let's play another hypothetical or case study. Let's say both of them are in their prime years.
Yes.
Sex drive is healthy, male, female, married.
Yes.
Can we say the male and female are by nature polygamous or monogamous? Nature.
I would honestly say nature is more monogamous than we think.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is so many women come to me and say, I knew my husband was having an affair because he stopped having sex with me. Now, if a man is polygamous, when he's having an affair, his sex drive with his wife should be identical. Why has it stopped? If you're so polygamous, sleep with your wife in the morning and your mistress at night. Why does it stop with one of them? They're designed more monogamous than they realize. Because if they weren't monogamous, no woman would ever get suspicious. But he goes cold when he's having an affair. Very rarely does he maintain the same level of intimacy. This suggests to me they're actually monogamous. They're just simply more monogamous to the person they have sex with, not particularly their wife, girlfriend. It's whoever gives them the intimacy. I know men monogamous to an escort that they met, monogamous to her because she gives him intimacy, yet cheating on their wife because she doesn't. So they're monogamous, but they're monogamous to intimacy, not monogamous to a label of relationships or marriage. Would you agree or disagree as a man?
I heard an interesting theory. It was like a 6-minute snippet on YouTube by a think tank, and there were different professors talking about polygamous and monogamous creatures and animals and human beings. And he said something. One of them said something interesting that I thought was pretty cool. He said, "All human beings are polygamous. It's a decision to be monogamous." And he said something like, in words, that it's like if me and you are hungry, we can eat anything. You bring junk food, burger, healthy, we can eat. But does it mean with our brain and our psyche and our awareness we should eat everything?
Yeah.
Or you're like, no, I try to eat clean.
Yeah.
Therefore, by nature, I can eat anything, but I choose to live a healthier, better life. And he kind of
Could it be that we're actually by nature monogamous and choose to be polygamous?
That's interesting. That's why I'm asking you this.
Yeah, for me, I just genuinely think the fact that people in the beginning stages of relationships are naturally monogamous. There's very few people who are like, when they first meet someone, they're crazy about them, cheat constantly from day one. There's something missing in the intimacy that creates the infidelity later on. Or there's something missing in the connection. There's something missing in the masculinity or femininity that creates the polygamy. I genuinely believe that when you are fulfilled, monogamy is a natural byproduct of a fulfilling relationship. It's not difficult. It's actually not difficult. But when you're unfulfilled or you've settled in your partner or you haven't selected wisely, polygamy is calling at you. It's like pulling you. So I would say that we're actually by design more monogamous. And I say this because as a therapist, I constantly see men come to me saying, I can't touch my wife, I miss my mistress too much. I can't touch this person, I keep missing her, I keep thinking about this girl. Men are saying this. So if you're so polygamous, why would you even be hung up on a girl that you used to date? Why don't you forget her in 5 minutes, sleep with somebody else if it's so easy? So I think there is more monogamy in them than we think.
But then why, it was interesting where you said in the honeymoon era, let's say in the first year, it's very natural to be monogamous. Then why it seems to be so difficult or so impossible, I don't want to use the word impossible, but difficult that to sustain that natural monogamy by year 3 and year 4 or year 10?
Our motivation to please our partner decreases over time. In the beginning stages, we don't see it as a burden looking after ourselves for our partner's sake and looking after our partner for our partner's sake. There's a natural selflessness that comes. Over time, we forget to do that, and we become more, we take the easy route. This is human nature, by the way. It's not a bad thing. But if we maintain the desire to care for our partner and be mindful of their needs and wants, I think it would be easy to maintain that. I think it's the meeting of needs rather than just a desire for somebody else. The person who meets your needs becomes the person you start to desire. When a woman never cooks or cleans for her husband, ever, I'll notice a guy say, oh, this girl in my office, she made me a coffee. I think I'm in love with her. And I'm like, who is she? Because I don't really know her. And they literally start fantasizing about her because she met a need. And similarly, a woman will say, my husband never kisses me, never tells me I'm beautiful. This guy at the gym, he always tells me I'm so sexy. I think I like him. Somebody's meeting a need. If we just make sure our partner is the person doing it, monogamy becomes very easy. Do you find monogamy easy?
I find it as a decision. And I think it can, because my wound, when I read the book about wounds.
Which book was it?
If you want, I'll send you a copy. It's
Please.
French, and I got the English translation, and it's super. It's as good as the 5 love languages, which I think should be in every school. I think the 5 wounds should be in every school.
Okay.
So I'll try to quickly summarize it. So wound 1. So the idea is the 5 wounds that you're exposed to during childhood, and then your ego designs a mask to cover the wound, but doesn't mean it's healed. It's just covered with a plaster, right? So it's a mask. So the first one was injustice. No, not injustice. Rejection.
Rejection, okay.
The mask for rejection is from either parent. So the first rejection, one of them is rejection, like you're not coming out with us.
Yes.
You're not allowed, and you took it as a rejection wound. The mask is for withdrawal. Withdrawer. So you're a person that you'll see never raises the hand in school. They're not proactive because they don't want to get any rejection anywhere. So they don't even be forthcoming. That's number 1. Number 2 is abandonment, which is huge with a lot of people. And abandonment is dad was too busy, mom left me too much, I was with the nanny, So the ego creates the dependency mask. And that's very codependent people. So when they're in a relationship, they latch onto you with the intuition or intention that if I latch onto them, they won't leave. And that's the same reason they would leave.
Yes,
because you suffocated them.
Yeah,
So you're there with the right intention, like, no!
Yeah, it actually creates the fear that they've been trying to avoid.
Third is humiliation.
Okay.
You look disgusting, you're a fat pig, You feel humiliated as a child, and you become a masochist. You bring pain to yourself, it can go extreme, or you're a pleaser, you don't take care of your body, you gain weight. Everybody before me. 6 people invite you to their birthday, you go to the 6th. Okay. You're never a priority. 4 is yours truly, is betrayal, and you felt betrayed by a parent. And if you felt betrayed as a child, I don't even remember when, but obviously when I saw the symptoms, I'm like, me, you become a controller.
Okay.
So you want to do anything not to be betrayed.
Right.
And I noticed at work, I'm like, contracts, make sure it's clear. I don't like ambiguous people. I don't like mysterious people, even in love.
Yeah.
If you're mysterious, it bothers me.
Yeah.
Because it's not clear. And I'm like, what are they up to?
You need transparency.
I love transparency and love communication. The last one is rejection.
That was the first one, no?
Yeah, I thought it was. It was, injustice.
Injustice, sorry.
Injustice is maybe your siblings were treated better than you and all of that, and you become rigid.
Okay.
So I only work this way. I only do things this way.
Yeah.
My house is this way. No flexibility. So
I think I have that. I'm very rigid in the way that I think.
I have that as my second one.
I have that.
My second one is...
I'm very rigid. People always say, you're black and white, and I'm like, yeah.
Do you have abandonment?
I feel so, because I was very left out, so it must have been.
And were you very codependent in your first relationships?
It's more controlling than codependent. I can live my separate life, but I want to know what you're doing the whole way, all the time. So I'm very...
It's a betrayal.
Yeah, betrayal, yeah. So I must have, but I definitely have that rigidness to me. It's very much
it's
like...
It's never one.
Yeah.
I have betrayal and injustice. to me.
And then I guess the rejection must have been there. If I'm left out, I guess there must have been someone.
It
Maybe
depends.
all of
Sometimes,
them.
no, but sometimes the rejection can manifest as abandonment. And some people, so we just have to read it and you'll be like, shit, that's me.
Okay, interesting.
And it's a good book to read.
Well, great book. Who's it by? Do you know?
No, I
Okay,
forgot.
I'll look into it.
I'll give you a copy.
Yeah, perfect.
So why was I saying, I think you asked me about, do I find
was it about
monogamy?
Yes, do you find monogamy easy?
I find, because I really like, I don't know how did I reach it, but it was more around, I try to be very honest and very dedicated. So if I give you my word, you don't need anything.
Yeah.
But for me to reach a level where I'm like, Sadia, I'm your friend for life. I'm there.
Yeah.
You don't need a contract, you don't need an email, you just go, Anas, we're in trouble, I'm there.
Because one thing I don't understand that people that cheat is why are you with people that you would want to cheat on? Why don't you just leave the for me, I've got so much pride. I've got so much pride that if I don't like you enough to the point where I'm cheating, why are you in my life? Like if I have to, I was just like, why would I be with you if I want to cheat on you? Like the fact that I'm cheating on you means I don't like you enough. I don't need you enough to keep you around in the background. I'll just let go. So I've never understood that part of the cheating cycle, but I know everybody's different and everybody is, everybody's designed differently, but it's very, very common in women as well. I know men, we talk a lot about male cheating. You'd be so surprised how common it is in women.
It's very scary when I hear stories about
it. It is
and
endless.
Coming from a guy who's afraid of betrayal.
It's endless in women. It's super, super endless. Of course, there's certain type of women, but there's some more than others. But it's very, very common in women as well, particularly in this day and age. Yeah, and that's actually an evolved trait as well. What they found, in hunter-gatherer times, they say men, were polygamous. But what they don't mention is women, if they didn't have a man, they would die. So they needed men all the time. So when their man would die, that day they would move on to another guy, even if it was his brother. So we are designed to move on very quickly, which is why they can go from marriage to marriage or man to man a lot quicker. When they think one is dying, they'll go to another one. So it's just as common in women. It's just that they're not polygamous. It's more like, I'll leave you for this one.
Yeah. I pride myself in my honesty. And I promised myself I would never be in a relationship where if I feel I need attention outside, I will flag it.
Yeah.
That's first a flag that something is off, so we need to fix it. But if it's there, no cheating.
Yeah.
I'd rather leave.
Yeah.
And I would want my partner to do the same. If she feels unfulfilled, don't cheat. Just say, I'm done with you.
Yeah.
I think you're boring.
Yeah.
You can leave.
I know, and I'm quite a fearless person. So the idea of being so scared of somebody that I can't leave him and I have to go cheat, I'm like, well, I'm not scared of you, I'll tell you, bye. I'm not scared enough of somebody that I have to live a separate life around them. The only person I've ever been afraid of is my father. Outside of my father, everybody else, I'm like, I'm not scared of anybody. And it actually gets me in a lot of trouble. So the idea of sneaking around behind somebody's back or lying to somebody is like, why am I lying to you? I'm not scared of you, bye. My fearlessness makes me less likely to lie, cheat, steal, all these things because I don't need to. Yeah, I'm not worried about your approval or disapproval. So I just don't have that in me. But to each their own. I do recognize everybody's circumstances are different.
There's a saying, once a cheater, always a cheater. True or false?
Very true.
Really?
Absolutely true.
Wow.
And the reason being...
I didn't think you'd say true, but okay.
Did you not?
No, because
absolutely true.
I'll tell you my logic later,
Yeah.
but first tell me why.
Absolutely true, because the moment you are a cheater, your selection pool of people changes. So what I mean by that is most cheaters, let's say for example, I cheat on my husband, I meet you, and I start cheating with you. I've now selected a person who's aware of my capability of cheating. So now I've selected somebody dumb enough to fall for it. Perfect, now I'm going to do the same to you. Because your selection changes the moment you become a cheat. And one of the reasons I always tell women, try not to cheat. The reason being is you'll end up with the weakest type of men when you become a cheating woman. He will know that you've got that ability. He's seen you do it to another man. He's seen signs of you doing it here, and he'll still be with you. A strong man would say, you cheated on him, you're going to cheat on me, bye. He wouldn't touch you. He wouldn't go near you. Only a weaker type of man will accept you as a cheating woman. So you're left with a pool of men that you won't truly respect. And you're left with a pool of men you can trick. You don't like those men. So try and avoid that. So the moment you become a cheater, man or woman, you come with a sign that this is my history. It's a bit like a criminal. If I have a criminal history, what will happen is I'll go to apply for jobs. Certain jobs, particularly high-level jobs, they won't even open my resume. But there'll be some low-level jobs that will. The moment low-level jobs start hiring me, I'm like, fuck this place. And I'm going to start looking elsewhere. Cheating is exactly the same.
I'll tell you my logic. And one of my ideas is I'll tell you where I think there is truth and there is an exception. Always a cheater, once a cheater, always a cheater. Once a druggie, always a druggie. Once this, always this. Once a quitter, always a quitter. I think there is a lot of truth to it, but I don't think it's
as linear.
It's
yeah,
not
but this
as
is where
simple.
my rigid.
Yeah. So I think, in my opinion, you bring me somebody who, on his CV, he never stayed more than 6 months in any job. 90%, if not a bit more, he will leave before 6 months here. I know this because it's a pattern. Same with a person who keeps getting addicted to drugs. Can I say, is it fair for me to say, oh, he'll never recover? No. And I had a guest here. He was an addict of all sorts of drugs, goes into rehab 5 times. 5th time, Sadia recovers, sober till today, world jiu-jitsu champion twice, married, children. Wow, what a story. But 5th time.
Yeah.
So I feel it's very unfair of me to tell anybody, you cheated once, you're done.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't need to be with you.
Yeah.
But I will never have the right to tell you that you would never know how to be monogamous. Or, say, no, my new ethic, I would never do it. I would leave before cheating.
Yeah.
Maybe he does, but I think 10% chance.
Yeah, there is a chance. There's always a chance, and there's always exceptions to the rules. But here's what I would say. When you are dealing with somebody who has a potential to cheat, instead of thinking you're so unique, you're so different, just think they have the potential to cheat. So I'll just make sure that whatever caused them to cheat in their previous relationships, we try and battle that. We try and be aware of that. But this delusional belief, but with me, he would never. With me, she would never. You're delusional. You just got to realize what triggers that person to cheat and make sure that your relationship doesn't have those triggers. If it's because when the kids came, he felt neglected and he started cheating, you make sure when the kids come, you create quality time and intimacy. If you realize she cheated because she found somebody who gives her more a lifestyle and gives her more money and she wanted someone richer, you better make sure that you're earning more than most people she knows. Or you're giving her a lifestyle that she knows. You've got to know your partner's triggers for cheating and try and create a buffer in your relationship. But delusionally accepting that your love and connection is going to be enough to prevent them from going back to their old habits, you're in for a rude awakening, sadly.
I think that's a more realistic approach. I think you can't judge somebody who decides not to be with an drug addict or cheater or. You have the right to say, it's more challenging, I don't want it. But like I said, if you decide, I'm aware and I'm willing to work with you,
if you're, especially as a woman, and you're going to say, oh my God, I'm never going to be with a guy that's ever cheated, you're going to struggle. Yeah, it's going to limit your pool. It's going to, but you've got to completely understand why they cheated. And if they say, oh, it's because I didn't love her, but I love you, you have to ask them, what makes you love me? What is it about our connection that makes you faithful, and how do I maintain it? Because this blanket, I love you and I didn't love her, it's not true. It's a behavior. It was a need in that relationship that wasn't being met, and make sure that it doesn't repeat itself.
You know, Sadia, I used to ask some guys, this is many years ago. It was a tricky question. I would tell, that was like off camera, before even probably ABtalks. And I would tell guys, it was only guys. I was like, okay, I'll give you a hypothetical question. If you knew that if you cheated, 100% your partner, your wife, girlfriend would never know. And hypothetically, till you die, till she dies. Nobody will ever know. Would you or not? Most of them said yes.
Of course,
And that was scary because, so then I remember one of my friends, I told him he's never cheated. I really respect, and he has a healthy relationship, everything. And I was really curious because I see how men are generally. He's one of the, let's say, men that are faithful are 20%. I'm a bit, hopefully, not too generous, but let's say 2 out of 10. Maybe 1. Okay, let's say 2. 2 out of 10.
You wouldn't say it's more than that?
In busy cities?
Yeah, in busy cities, it's hard.
If it's in a slow city with no
100%.
options.
Slow cities, very easy.
Let's say 20%. So for me, I'm always curious about the 2% or 20% because there should be given a lot of credit. There's a lot of temptations, there's a lot of options, but they choose. So I asked one of them, I'm like, why do you not cheat? Are you afraid of your wife? Or is it your religion? Or is it your life values and ethics? He said, no, I'm not scared. I do it for my ethics, my values. I said, then don't ever cheat. Because if he said fear, the moment he's not afraid of her,
that's not real.
He's gonna do it. The moment he gets musters some courage or anger, he's gonna do it. But if it's just because it's me, this is my image of myself as a self-image, I respect that.
Yeah, I think for me personally, the reason for me was just I don't get excited by male attention. By new male attention, it doesn't do anything for me. And mainly because I worked with, like, in boys' schools my whole life. I used to work in a bunch of boys' schools when I was teaching, and you learn how quickly they'll give everybody attention. Miss, you look amazing. Miss, you look amazing. Miss, you, everywhere they go, every girl looks amazing to them. When you learn how little attention actually means in the real world, and how little that currency is, risking everything you have for that, it just seems like a cheap thrill to me. So I've never been so overly excited about, like, a new option. Something new doesn't seem so exciting. And I remember, like, one thing I noticed is the men that seem to cheat the most, and when they get older, is one that didn't have access to a lot of women when they were growing up. Those men seem to worship women, particularly young women, because those are the women that used to reject them the most. And I find that those men find it very difficult to resist cheating, because they see attention as it might disappear. So you've got to latch onto it while they've got it. Whereas when you grow up with it and you've always had it, you almost see it as like, this is another person that's just going to hurt me as much as my annoying husband right now. So what's the point? Yeah, he's probably going to annoy me in a million different ways. What is the point? Let me just nurture what I have rather than start something so, like, because words are so meaningless. So I think people whose love language is verbal affirmation, they are very prone to cheating, because all it takes is the right words and they attach to another person. And words are cheap and easy to give to people. So I think those people tend to be the most easy prey.
Very interesting. Why do you think there's an epidemic of casual relationships today?
We've programmed the mind to be ADHD. We've programmed the brain to be very impatient and look for immediate gratification. So even when you're scrolling and it's taking too long to load, on to the next. Even when it's buffing for a couple of minutes, or if you see a video is 4 minutes, oh, that's so long. So our brain is designed for short-term excitement constantly. So the way that we've got dating apps, the way we've got any social media apps, our brain is designed for short-term relations. More so, and that combined with the fact that we think the grass is always greener now, because we're constantly surrounded by the illusions of alternatives, constantly thinking there's so many options. When you're in school, like when we were younger, the only attractive people were the people in high school. So the popular girl or the popular guy in high school was it. That was all we knew. Now you're seeing popular people on social media, popular people on TikTok, and so we're constantly thinking that our partner could so easily be replaceable. Yeah, there's so many alternatives to this person. So you feel itchy all the time, whoever you're with. So I think casual relationships have become programmed in our technology. Our technology has then made our brain less capable of, like, delayed gratification, which is now translating into relationships. So I think that's become, that's one of the main reasons. But I also think the glorification of casual relationships as well. What's happening is that you can get all the perks of a long-term relationship in one night. You can get one girl who you're very attracted to come to your house. She might make you a coffee in the morning, might give you a massage, might sleep with you, whatever it is, and then she can leave. So you get the perks without any of the effort. So what's happening is that you're just thinking, why would I go through the effort of creating a relationship when I can get a new girl every day doing a similar kind of thing anyway? And so it's kind of reduced the desire to maintain long-term relationships. And girls, unfortunately, I think originally they were just following men and thinking, well, if I don't sleep with him, he's going to replace me, so I might as well just quickly sleep with him. Otherwise, if I try and make him wait 3 months, he's going to replace me with another woman. So and originally they were just doing it, hoping it would lead to long-term relationships. What's happened is they've become so jaded by how many men just want short-term flings that they've also become accustomed to it. So now they are also not calling or texting after the first date. They are also keeping their options open. They're also thinking, I don't want to get too attached because he might hurt me and then he might sleep with another girl, so I'm going to go get to know some of his friends. So it's now spread over to both genders.
I think it's very bad.
Yeah, do you think it's really bad?
I think it has way more bad than good.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think it's terrible.
And because
who do you think it's worse for, men or women?
women.
Why do you think so?
I'm not a specialist or a researcher to give you a proper answer.
Just your own opinion, yeah.
My feeling. It seems men seemingly approach intimacy and sex a bit more casually. And pardon, I don't know how okay is it to be this open about it, but for them, they can literally watch porn, masturbate, or hook up with a girl. Like he's just saying, what's
Either
the best
or.
option?
Yeah.
He doesn't care so much about the emotional connection that comes with it. It's a very self-centered, selfish way. And if you get economy business first, you'd go for the first class if it's available, right? For women, it seems, not all women again, not all men, not all women, but generally for a woman to be that intimate with you, she has to really like you. At least fancy you. I'm not saying love,
Yeah.
has to like you, like your brain,
Attracted
like
to
your
you.
energy. I think at least, and it's not, so there is an emotional thing attached, a bit more than a man. So if she keeps getting emotionally attached, then chuck, and then emotionally attached, and then chop, and then I think that's a bit more damaging or
I would say
dangerous.
I agree with that part, but I think long-term consequences are worse for men. And the reason I say that is because men are not in control of pregnancies. Women are. If they get pregnant by the wrong man, they'll get rid of it. If they don't get pregnant with the right man, he's got money, he's got this, she'll keep it. So you have no say in fatherhood the way women do. So when you pursue this strategy of just sleeping with random girls here, there, and everywhere, you are going to end, you are risking the idea of having children with somebody that you don't respect or love because she was just sleeping around and blah, blah. And as a result, you don't even get to choose if you're going to be a father or not. She chooses. In the Western world, like abortion is all in her hands. So I think the risk of like becoming a parent, women are always in control of that. Childbirth, like they've got so many things that they can prevent childbirth, birth, whatever it is. Men don't have a say in that. So I think the long-term repercussions are worse for men. And the other thing that it does for men is it ruins their perspective of what good women come as. What happens is they're so used to casual women. They're so used to a woman coming, leaving, not wanting dates, not caring, not texting, not calling. So what happens is their standards of what women are like gets lower and lower and lower. So what happens when they finally do want to settle down, the good woman that is, you know, really hard to come, they don't even know how to communicate with her. The girl that's in the club that will sleep with them on the first, second, third date, whatever, they start to think that's normal, and that's who they'll end up marrying. Whereas women, when if they marry a guy on that level or not that level, it doesn't actually affect them in the long term. But marrying a loose woman is super negative for a man. So I think the long-term risks are way worse for a man.
It's a very interesting topic. Like, because I don't feel there's a fixed
There's not fixed.
analysis
Essentially,
to
it's not designed for either men or women. Essentially, it's not how we're designed. I know we like to think that we are, but it's just not how we're designed.
Yeah, I do think maybe one of the negative things maybe for men and probably for women for sure
Yeah.
is it numbs you.
Yeah. And
Because you never, it's just emotion after emotion, physical touch, emotional touch, everything, and then your dopamine receptors are probably overused, I don't know.
And you forget the consequences of intimacy should be children and a home. But we replace that with just flings. And so where is it going? What's the goal of it? You lose sight of the end goal. So I think it's leading to a breakdown of what intimacy actually should result in. Is what we're designed to do is only sleep with people that we have children with and start a family and be responsible and all these things. We're taking the responsibility and just using it as a device. We're using human beings as devices for pleasure, and that's not good for either. It breeds psychopathy in both men and women. But I know I'm being very a grandma. Yeah, I'm sure it's fun, but
Like I said, there is the good side to it, but I think the negatives are more.
of course, yeah.
You know? So, okay. In his research, John Gottman, who's an American psychologist and professor, says that what men do in a relationship is by a large margin the crucial factor that separates a great relationship from a failed one. Do you agree?
Absolutely.
Really?
I blame men for everything, and I get a lot of hate for this online. I blame them for everything. If they get cheated on, it's your fault. If she's using you for money, it's your fault. If she's a gold digger, she's your fault. If she's this, she's your fault. It's always your fault. And maybe, and I think this is where it's important, as a Muslim woman, and you understand this because you're a Muslim man, we have the concept of a mahram. Like, the man is responsible for his daughter, his sister, his mother. He's the responsible one. If your daughter's acting crazy, the first thing people say is, who's her father? Where's her father at? No one really says, where's her mama and her sister? They say, where's her brother? Where's her dad? Because, but even if you're not Muslim, you all realize women's kind of provocative nature or promiscuity is a responsibility of a man. There's a man somewhere that should be very disappointed or didn't do his job right. So if we know that, like if you look at, some people will, I see people commenting on young girls who might have like promiscuous pictures up saying, oh, I wonder if your dad would be proud of this. But even you recognize that this is a man's responsibility. So how a relationship pans out is entirely in a man's hands. Now, the problem with it in modern men is their protective jealousy and their protective instincts has been beaten out of them. What's happened is we replaced the desire to protect women we replace that with the desire to lust after women and to the desire to conquer women and just kind of sleep with them. There's no desire to protect and provide and be responsible for women anymore. They just want to lust and lust and lust. And so what we've done is hijacked their masculinity and replaced it with lust and desire. So when you enter a relationship as a man and you forget your role is to be protective and really monitor how she's doing, if she's well, if she's not well, if she's behaving well, inside and outside of the house, you forget that's part of your role, and you're not emotionally regulated. Women are going to be emotional. Our hormones are all over the place. We get pregnant, we have a period, so on and so forth. You as a man need to be somewhat more emotionally regulated. We know we're going to come dysregulated. So if you are dysregulated and you're not protective and you lose all of those traits that keeps a home, the relationship is doomed. Whereas when you are a strong man and you know how to resolve conflict, you know how to communicate, you make good decisions, you are protective of your woman, you make sure that there's no promiscuity, there's no poor behavior, what will happen is the relationship will either follow your lead, because women who don't follow your lead, you won't spend time with them anyway. So you'll only select a healthy woman. So the man holds all the power, all of it. Yeah? If you're a strong, good decision-making, responsible, protective man, women will follow your decision-making. If you're none of those things, a woman will control and abuse you.
You make it sound so simple. So if you have a really stable guy and a psycho partner,
he wouldn't select her. Or what would happen is, because he's so stable and he's such a great decision maker, like myself, my psychoness had to be beaten out of me. It had to kind of eventually come out, because in order to maintain this relationship, I had to get rid of it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to maintain this particular relationship. So what happens when you're that man, either you select really wisely, or even a really crazy woman will come correct, because if she doesn't come correct, you'll show her the door.
Yeah.
But when you're a man that's weak, pathetic, sensitive, dysregulated, you're screaming and shouting back and you're not staying calm and collect, you're going to create chaos in your home. So you're a mahram for a reason. And I know we understand this concept, but the modern world has completely forgotten it. And because of that, we see families falling apart all the time.
You know, on that topic, before I go to the next one, I feel, Sadia, and your opinion is more important than mine in this topic.
Of course not.
No, truly.
Yeah.
Because this is what you study. This is just me, an outsider's opinion, or an observant. It seems like, Sadia, I swear I watch some shows and I'm like, because I'm born in 1981, so maybe the last millennials who saw before the internet grew up with no internet, then saw the internet. So we're the last generation that ever had both, right? So I look and I'm like, how is this a man? Like, they're straight, but they're soft.
Not straight. Like, it's
I'm talking about the ones who actually like women, but they're softies and they're
soft.
Oversensitive. And I don't want to make fun of people who cry, but it's over crying. There is normal crying, like, I know if my father lost his father, he would cry. If my father misses maybe my mother after 6 months away, he would, okay, this is normal. I'm all to support that. But if you cry all the time.
Yeah.
And you're over, everything is personal, everything is sensitive, and you want to be pampered and you're entitled. So I look at them like, what's wrong with guys? Then my main observation is I feel that is, you know that saying, comfortable times create weak men create, so it was, comfortable times create weak men create troubling times create strong men create comfortable times. That's the cycle. I feel if I replicate and copy paste that model and then say masculinity, proper, healthy masculinity breeds healthy, proper femininity. Lack of masculinity brings toxic femininity. Toxic feminities and it starts to do this. If you're a toxic masculine, and I don't mean toxic the one that is over the top, I mean under the average also. That's for me also toxic.
Yeah, the lack of masculinity.
You're too feminine.
Yeah.
So for me, that's making now your wife or your girlfriend have to assume masculinity. So she's very rigid, she's not the princess, and she's independent, she doesn't need your opinion, she doesn't give a shit about you. And then you have a very weird dynamic. So it seems females have had to assume so many masculine traits in today's modern world, and men weirdly feel intimidated and be assumed feminine traits.
I know, it's just what's happened. But I remember somebody once saying to me, as a man, and he's like, you should, on your podcast, tell men that they should cry more. And I said, why would I tell them that? He's like, it's good to cry. A weak man in that sense. And I said, well, if men are good decision makers, if they are truly a good decision maker, what will happen is he'll only cry out of circumstantial reasons, like there's a death in a family or something like that. Every other stress in his life, he will be able to problem solve. He doesn't need to sit there and need to crying over it. He'll get on with problem solving. What's happened in this day and age, the men are so bad at problem solving, so bad at decision making, that they lean into women to do it for them. Yeah, and the main reason is when they didn't grow up admiring their father. Even if he was admirable, they just learned this distaste. It's kind of a common theme. A lot of men, like for example, in the Eastern culture, my dad would say, oh, you know, my dad used to beat me, blah, 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 this, that, and the other with a stick, and this, that. I have scars here. He was the best man ever. They would to describe how they got all this trauma and abuse, but they had this level of respect for their fathers, because they assumed that that's what made them disciplined. That's what made them the man they are today. In this day and age, every form of punishment they received as a child, they're like, that's why I am so broken. That's why I'm so traumatized. They're looking for excuses rather than looking for, like, to become a better person. So I think the reason why the men have broken down so much is they've disconnected with their father's masculinity. They're always looking for an explanation for their poor behavior. They're saying it's because of this trauma and that trauma. And they're terrible decision makers. They just can't make decisions. They rely on women. They'll even say to women, where do you want to go eat? When should we go out? It's up to the woman to decide when we get married. The woman should decide when we make it official. Why are you leaving it in a woman's hands? Everything should be in your hands. Why is a woman putting pressure on you when to propose? You should be like, okay, we need to get married. We need to sort this out. We need to start a family. They've stopped being able to make responsible decisions. And as a result, they've lost their masculinity.
And do you think that's why a woman had to assume masculine traits?
Yeah, why is a woman having to say to you, when are we getting married? Why is a woman saying, why haven't you proposed? Why is a woman saying, when are we going to make this official? A man, a true man should be saying, I don't want you dating other men. We're together now. I don't want you being like, you know, living somewhere else. You should be living with me. Let's get married. Instead, they're like, oh, I'm not ready. Oh my God, there's too much pressure. Oh, there's too much commitment. Are you a man, or are you like, what's wrong with you? You know, like, man up. What are you scared of pressure for? You should be embracing pressure. You should be embracing responsibility. You should be doing everything you can to do that. Instead, they run away from commitment, pressure, and responsibility. How are you going to become a man without those things? You're going to stay a boy. I'm such a bitch today. What's wrong with me? Sorry.
Let's go. We're enjoying this. Okay. James Sexton was a famous divorce lawyer.
I love him. Yeah.
He said there's a 56% chance that your marriage will end in divorce, yet 86% of people agree to marry within 5 years. But most people have no idea what they're getting themselves into. What do you think of that?
I agree. The main reason why people go from one to another is they victimize themselves in their previous marriage, and they didn't reflect on what they did that caused that breakdown of that previous marriage. So what they'll say is, my ex was a narcissist. This time I just know that I won't marry a narcissist and I'll be fine. Or they'll say, my ex was this, she was that. I'll just marry somebody who's the opposite of my ex and I'll be perfect. So what they do is they go into the new relationships with a lens of whoever's not like my ex, just different to what my ex was. That you're different to my ex, perfect, I'll marry you. They're not realizing they're the common denominator. They're equal to blame for why that marriage dissolved. Let's say, for example, you married the worst person on the planet. He ended up being abusive, horrible, this, that, and the other. You selected him. There's something broken in your selection process. It can't all be him. So what the reason why they go into another relationship so quickly is because there's a delusional level of self-belief. They believe they weren't responsible for that breakdown. If they knew that they were very responsible for that breakdown, they wouldn't jump into another one. A bit like when you asked me, how come you waited till your 30s to get settled down? Because I knew I would be responsible for the breakdown. It wouldn't matter who I was with. My insecurities, my anxieties, my issues would cause the breakdown. And, so sometimes I feel like, oh, but you waited to this age till you get married. Yeah, because I'm not dumb. I knew if I'd done it any earlier, I would have been the problem. So if you think you did it when you're 23 and you did the wrong, you get a medal for that, you should wait until you're completely aware of how you and your traumas and your insecurities damage a relationship. When you really understand that, you'll be more selective before you move on. Until that point, you shouldn't.
Now I have a few quotes from Sadia.
Ooh.
What did you mean when you said modern dating is just training for divorce?
Well, the hookup culture is teaching you how to be emotionally detached to whoever you are physically attached to. So what it does is it trains you not to get overly attached, emotionally intimate with people that you are physically intimate with. So therefore, when you break down with somebody, you move on quite quickly. You'll go on to the next. So that's training you. Second thing is what hookup culture is teaching you is you don't need to check in with people. You just see them on a Friday night after a drunken night out. You just text them then. But you don't need to call regularly. You don't need to check in regularly. You don't need to worry if they got home safe, if they've eaten, if they're all good. Perfect. You just check in when you want something. How would that translate into healthy marital skills? That is exactly how you get divorced. You don't check in, you don't know if they're doing well, whatever it is. The other thing with modern dating is toxic for men and women. One thing I can't watch on TikTok is girls teaching other girls, never settle for less. Here's some money, here's a bag, here's some shoes. Look what my man got me, look at my bedroom. And what they're doing is preparing you to be dissatisfied with whatever your partner brings to the table. Similarly, men will say, look how hot my 18-year-old girlfriend is, even though I'm 42. Look how great I'm doing, this, that, and the other. It's preparing you to be dissatisfied with the person that you've selected. It's preparing you to become ungrateful for what your partner is giving to you. What these people are not showing is that the presents that they're getting are usually from an old man that they met in another country who they have to do very lewd acts to get there. They're not showing you that part. Or they're not showing the guys that was with an 18, 19, or they're not showing you the times where she comes home late and she's been sleeping with another guy around her same age. They're not showing you that part. So it's programming you to select partners based on very external junk values. Money, looks, sex, all these junk things. It's not demonstrating actual connection and intimacy. And even when you see they're more healthy couples, they're doing stupid trends, pranks on each other. Well, it's not authentic. That's not what real relationships are like. So real relationships are not like, oh, boo, I'm going to prank my husband today. Watch me today. That's not what real relationships are. You're an idiot. Yeah. So it's constantly teaching you the most inauthentic way to create a marriage. And you're going into relationships and thinking, how come we don't do pranks on each other? Or how come you don't decorate my bedroom on Valentine's Day the way this girl's sugar daddy did? Wrong role models 24/7. So it's preparing you to how to be dissatisfied, how to be uncomfortable, and how to look for replacements in your marriage.
On this point, it's very interesting because I feel this one is where social media is to blame. Because when we were young with no internet, only people you could compare to are in similar neighborhood and similar circumstances, plus minus. So you don't see this drastic changes. You mentioned how you see the hot guy or the hot girl online and you see all of these options. The problem with social media is people are posting their favorite moments and their best moments, not the behind the scenes. And it's like you said, the criteria that you're measuring your current relationship on is on a few TikTok videos of horse riding with your Romeo on holding him from the back and running on the beach, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
But it's not what a relationship's success or healthiness is measured on.
Yeah.
It's one nice moment, and you should take it as a nice moment.
Well, what they should be measured on is how they resolve conflict and how they get through times where they don't have access to these beautiful moments. What are they doing in those moments? Well, instead, what they're teaching them is just to look for these moments. But that's not the measure of marital success. It's the measure of when you can't afford to go on holiday. Or it's the measure of when you don't look your best and you are just coming out of labor and you've gained a lot of weight. So they're not teaching people on those levels. And that's why I really have to block a lot of, because of my content, they constantly bombard me on my algorithm with like couples and pranks and bullshit. And I just can't watch it because the inauthenticity of it. I know they make a lot of money and I know it's great and I'm happy for them, but I can't help but think about how a young girl who's never had a boyfriend, who can't get guys to answer her text back, is feeling when she's watching that. I can't help but see it from her perspective, and that makes me feel sad. Or I can't help but see the girl that grows up without a father, doesn't have any money, doesn't have a great job, and she's watching a girl getting flown out and thinking, should I just sleep with an old man and get this as well? Is that the way to do it? I just don't like what women are teaching other women. It's a bit, and they're proud of it. They're like unboxing, and the funny thing is all of the data, all of the research has shown that the more materialistic you are, the more higher your rates of depression and anxiety is. They've done endless research on teenagers and adults. The more materialistic your values are, the more likely you are to suffer from anxiety, depression, and suicidal thoughts, because materialism is a junk value. It's like eating junk food. It might fill you up for a minute, but you haven't got the nutrition from it. So this is what girls are teaching other girls. You're creating a generation of mental health concerns. But I'm seen as a pick-me when I say that.
There's another quote. A woman's instinct is to be looked after. For a man, he needs to be nurtured.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, the thing is, we look for what we can't provide ourselves. I can't protect myself against other men or in dangerous scenarios, so we look for the person who can. Similarly, a man is not designed to be nurturing. He's just not designed to nurture kids, it's not how he's designed. He would like to, he just doesn't know how to, it doesn't come natural to him. So what happens is when you show him nurture, he feels complete. Yeah, like look, for example, most men, praise be to God, we live in Dubai, most men, and this is a very rich city, not everybody, but alhamdulillah, most people can outsource delivery of food and maids to clean the house and iron the shirts or whatever it is. We can outsource that, and it can get done. We don't need our wives to do it, but the moment your wife does do it, as a man, you feel complete. You feel like together we've got everything. The things I can't do, you do, and the things you can't do, I got. But when none of that is getting looked after from a man's perspective, and none of that protection is getting looked after from a woman's perspective, they swap roles. They start to swap roles. She becomes more masculine, he becomes more feminine. So to maintain that dynamic, we have to fill in the gaps of each other's skill set.
This one I think you touched on. When she's fighting with you, she's fighting for you.
Yeah.
You should be worried when she stops caring.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
This is something, absolutely.
Okay.
This is something, look, I think...
She'll fight every day.
I know. And look, here's what I would say. Like, even when I fight less, part of me starts to think, am I getting a bit too detached? Like, why am I not fighting as much? But one thing I would say is that some men mistake a woman's indifference as she's a peaceful woman. Some women just don't care about you. They don't care about you enough. So like, oh, she's so peaceful. She never bothers me when I go on business trips. She never calls to see where I am. She's so peaceful, I'm going to marry her. I'm like, is she attracted? Is she interested in it? A lot of the time she might be having an affair herself. I'm not saying go for somebody psycho. I'm not saying that. But women who are indifferent to you are not peaceful. Peaceful are women who are connected to you but choose to resolve fights, choose to resolve conflict. But some woman who doesn't care if you're home or not home, doesn't care if you're here and there, doesn't care if you're putting business first, as long as she gets a Chanel bag on her birthday, that's not a peaceful woman. That's an indifferent woman. And men don't know the difference between the two. they seem to mistake her indifference as peaceful. So what truly peaceful, I mean, like, look, I'm a therapist, so I work with couples all the time, and I know instantly when I can save a couple. And how I know is when I switch on the camera and she is exploding with emotion, like sad, upset, just so emotional, that I'm like, she's so in love with him, there's no way they're going to break up. She's so in love, look at her reactions. And it's not anger, it's just frustration that the relationship's not going well. But when I see the woman is totally indifferent, she's not fighting, he's doing all the talking, she's just checking what time it is, complaining about the prices, I'm very expensive, complaining about the prices, whatever it is, you're not going to last. She's indifferent. A woman's indifference is the predictor of the divorce. So when she's not complaining what time you come home, when she's not complaining about how you haven't had dinner with her, when she's not complaining about how you haven't had a date night in so long, be very afraid.
Yeah, she's already given up on you.
Yeah, your days are numbered.
Men can compensate bad looks,
Yeah.
women can't.
Yes. Sorry, not sorry. No, what I mean by this is, look, the majority, myself included, you know, sometimes your husband doesn't have to be the best looking man you've ever met. But when we are attracted to you as a man, whether it's because you're super funny, whether it's because you're super, you know, poised and you're very calm, something about you has made us attracted to you. We get a lens over us where we just find you the most attractive man ever. To us, you're irreplaceable. And people, even in the cases where he might be toxic, and you'll say to a girl, why? What do you see in him? You're like, oh, I just don't know. I just can't see other men. I'm just so attracted to him. Whatever it is, the moment she's attracted to you, she can't see another man. Men, they can be very much in love with a woman, but be very aware she's not attractive anymore. So what might happen is that she's gained a lot of weight, or whatever it is. When with women, when he gains a lot of weight, loses a lot of weight, we still love him the same. Sometimes we want him to get a bit fat. It'll help keep the hose away. But you know, when for a man, if she gains weight, they can see it more clearly. Now, it doesn't mean he won't choose her. There are many women who are not particularly attractive, happily married, very happily married. They're actually more happily married. Yeah, I always say that less attractive women are less likely to get cheated on. They're likely to get a more loyal husband. They're likely to get a more loving husband because the men are actually choosing them for them. And more importantly, those men that choose the less attractive women and choose the women that are not so beautiful, usually the man isn't so hypersexual himself. He's somebody who looks for more connection, emotional stability, blah, blah. He's not looking for sex. So, you know, she ends up with a very great man. So this is not a bad thing. It's just that men don't kid themselves into thinking she's the most beautiful girl in the world just because they've chosen her. They can still be aware she's not that attractive, but they can still love her. With us, when we love you, we actually do see you as super, super attractive, especially if you're funny. Like, you know how many men have managed to get girls because they know how to tell jokes, and he's a loser. He's like absolute brokey, but because he's funny, he gets all the girls.
What's the most thing you find attractive in a guy?
I find emotional maturity very, very attractive because I'm emotionally mature myself, especially in fights and stuff like that. But somebody who's willing to just remain calm and resolve arguments and make like really sensible decisions in crisis situations, I find that very, very attractive. Somebody who gets equally emotional, equally aggressive, it's just like you're giving feminine energy in that moment. So I find that masculinity and the emotional regulation very attractive. What do you find very attractive in women?
It's a good question.
What is one trait that you immediately makes a woman more attractive to you?
Physically or mentally?
Both.
Physically, for me, natural beauty. Somebody who doesn't need to be full makeup all the time.
Right.
That for me is a flag. If you're in the gym with full makeup, we have a problem. That means you're not comfortable. You can wear it in the right places.
Context.
But always filter, which
Yeah.
I call like digital makeup. Always a filter.
Yeah.
Always makeup? No, I don't. So that's for me. Natural beauty, somebody doesn't need to do so much and so many injections.
You're in the wrong city for that.
I know. All these
pick
busy
Australia
cities,
or Bali.
LA and Dubai, and they love it because that's unfortunately the programming that people think is the standard of beauty.
It's so different when I go back to London and I see normal faces again and I see normal bodies again. I'm like, oh, I haven't seen an ugly person in so long. This is so refreshing. And then I come to Dubai and everyone's perfect. It's like,
But I don't think it's perfect, Sadia.
no, I know. It's a wrong, warped perception of perfection.
Like, how many men have I met who said they love a woman who's done her boobs? Not honestly, as a man, I haven't met many men who said, I can't wait for my wife to do. You don't hear it often.
But you don't hear it. But one thing I would say is, watch who men talk about the most, watch who men follow the most on Instagram, watch who men approach the most on the night out. It will be the girl that's had a lot done. It will be, look at the most popular Instagram girls. Look at the most, maybe you're a bit old school and stuff like that.
Natural beauty is the best.
How many natural beauty girls have followers on Instagram? How many natural beauty girls have made it online? Why online is so indicative is it shows us what people gravitate towards. And what you see is girls with endless surgeries, BBLs, they have millions of followers, and those followers are not women, they're followers of men. So men say they want natural, they say they don't want this, that, and the other, but just check who they follow on Instagram to see.
But I swear, I truly mean it. I would not say it for the camera. Natural beauty.
But you're born in what year?
81.
It's different. 10 years later, then 10 years later.
Maybe they're used to a completely different standard of beauty.
They grow up on porn.
Porn is the standard, and for me, it's the girl next door beauty. You know, the girl in high school that she's
that's what you probably grew up watching, like, you know, normal girls on Friends and like these kind of things where they just look like normal women. This generation grows up on pornography. Yeah,
and maybe for personality.
Yeah, what trait?
I think maybe depth.
Okay.
It's so important. I have a necklace that I made in Arabic that says "تكلم حتى أراك," speak so I can see you.
Oh, that's a nice one.
So you're beautiful, but
speak so I can see you. Oh, that's lovely.
And if you don't know how to talk or you're too shallow, you're not beautiful anymore to me. It taints the beauty. So I would say that, the mindset maybe.
Do you find a lot of women with that mindset? Is it a bit harder?
I think, there is.
There's plenty.
I think women are more interested on growing their mind and learning than men at this generation.
Yeah, but the only problem is it's oversaturated. I contribute to that problem myself. But it is oversaturated on where to find the knowledge. If you're going online to look for knowledge, it's like endless amount of information, so it's hard to.
I call it information pollution.
It is so much pollution on there, and so, you know, I can't really talk. I contribute to that problem, but there is just way too much for them to absorb, and we're almost on the other end where it's just observation.
You stated that if you've been cheated on, it's usually your fault.
Absolutely.
I mean, guy or girl?
Both.
What do you mean?
Say it with my chest. Well, guy, 100% yours. You have only thing that causes men to be cheated on is they've lost their protective jealousy. You as a man have to have protective jealousy. Now, as a Muslim woman, it's ingrained in men to have that protective jealousy, but in the modern society, protective jealousy is seen as toxic. What I mean by protective jealousy is you select a woman that won't provoke it too much in you. You don't choose the woman that's out in the club, that slept with all your friends, gets drunk every weekend, and then say, oh no, I'm going to turn her into a wife. The moment you choose like that, of course you're going to get set up for getting cheated on. That's standard, so that's your own fault. But say if you choose right, and then what happens, for women to start cheating, they have to get away with small lies first. It doesn't go from, hi, let's get married, and to me tomorrow cheating. It starts with small lies that you just aren't doing, so checking. And what I mean by that is she's always on her phone, and I'm not saying you should get paranoid, but you should be like, babe, are you okay? Like, phone's away, let's connect, focus on that. Or she's always out with her friends, never comes home seriously late. Instead of being like, oh yeah, go have fun, I trust you, you should say, I trust you, but I trust you based on the decisions you're making. If you're making decisions like that, I'm going to start losing trust. Men that get cheated on, 99.9% of the time, they have no protective jealousy. They just believe her blindly, have no boundaries on what time she should come home, where she's going. Is she safe? More so than anything, I'm not saying it from a jealous perspective. Is it safe for her to get drunk and going out on constant holidays with her friends or posting online endlessly? If you are not watching out for those behaviors, it's your own fault when she cheats on you, because she trickles the evidence daily from the day you meet her. Now, some women will trickle no evidence because they're just not that woman. But some women will trickle that evidence every single day. The more you believe it, the more fault it is of your own. Now, with women, when it comes to look, I know it's a bit harder with men because, you know, they have this nature. But I would say that, like, sometimes I'll have wives that come to me and say, okay, we haven't slept together in 2 years, but why did he go cheat? Well, what do you think is why he went to go cheat? And she's like, after the baby, he never talked about it. He never said anything. And I was like, I know. Some men are weak like that. They won't bring it up. But if you're not sleeping with each other for months on end, what do you think is happening? I just thought he's stressed at work. He's a man. Either he's watching too much pornography or he's doing something. Something's going on. If there's 3, 4, 5, 6 months and you haven't been intimate and then you're blindsided when you find out he's having a divorce, that's your own stupidity. Why are you not monitoring and being aware of that? Now, I'm not saying cheating means you can never get over it, whatever it is, but we have to take responsibility for why it happens to us, because 9 times out of 10, it will happen to you again. If you're too naive, if you don't watch out for the signs, it will happen again. Do you agree or disagree, by the way?
You have a lot of interesting sentences or statements.
Victim blaming, they like to call it.
The only thing I think a lot of what you say has so much validity in general. I wouldn't go to black and white. I wouldn't do binary.
I'm very binary, right? Like I said, I'm very rigid.
I would think there are exceptions.
Yeah.
It could be 10%, 20%, but there is so much validity to what you're
Yeah,
saying.
I believe in exceptions. I really do believe in the exceptions. Myself included, like, you know, with the way that I was so anxious, so you would think, like, she can never calm down. So myself, there are always exceptions. But unfortunately, you'll get very little value from medical advice if it focuses on the exceptions. It's like, okay, it's going to cure 99% of people. Let's talk about the 1% that it's going to kill. You're going to get nothing from that. So when we are on the exceptions is what therapeutic settings are for. It's for what one-to-ones are for, like when we talk to one-to-ones. But my podcast and stuff is all generalizations, and they cry in the comments about that.
Have you been cheated on?
No, not that I know of. Okay. Yeah, it could always happen, of course, but not that I know of. I've never been in that scenario where I've seen a message or I've done, you know, I walked in and seen something or I've got clear evidence. Only because, and not because I'm some special person that nobody wants to cheat on. It's just that you'd be stupid to try. I'll find out if you'd be very stupid to try, because firstly, I always give and this is not something I'm just saying, I genuinely am the type of person that disconnects from somebody if they were to hurt me like them. It's just, it doesn't have to go to cheating. For me, my partner would attest to this, it doesn't have to go to cheating. It's just disconnect, like not being connected to me is enough for me to be like, bye, the door is open, off you go. So he would be very aware that if he even risked that, I'm gone. There's no like, oh, would she forgive me? Maybe she'd forgive. She's gone. Secondly, I'm very vigilant. I'm very aware. It's very difficult to cheat on me. I can dream it and then be like, are you sure you didn't? So, but of course, nobody's immune to it. Absolutely nobody's immune to it whatsoever. But I don't check too much. I don't check phones. As much as I'm crazy, I don't actually go digging for problems. So maybe if I digged, I would have found something. Do you dig? Do you ever go through phones and do stuff like that?
Never. I believe if you catch somebody, like let's say you come in and you see them checking your phone, you should leave.
Yeah?
I think it's done.
Yeah, there's something
If it reached that level, like you said, you don't need to reach that. If it reached that level, it's done.
Yeah.
That there is no trust in the relationship. Why are you even there?
Yeah, they're looking for trouble.
Yeah.
But people who dig, my advice always to people who dig is the dumbest thing in the world to do is start digging through your partner's phone unless you're going to walk away that day. If you're going to dig and find evidence and then say, look what I found, but I'm still going to stay with you, you've now given your partner permission to cheat on you forever. Only dig the day your bag's already packed, you're on your way out, and you might as well just find something to justify it. Okay. But digging prematurely, you're setting your own grave.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just skipping some.
I talk too much, you know, like if you ask.
No, because you cover a lot.
Yeah.
So if it's repetitive, no. What do you think is the biggest lie people tell themselves about love?
I think the biggest lie that they tell themselves about love is that it's special. They think that this person is special, this connection is special, our love is special. Special love is a result of good behavior. That's all it is, good habits. When you inflict good habits on any relationship, both of you come with good habits and you match each other's intimacy needs. I need a lot of connection, okay, perfect, I'll give it to you. I need a lot of physical affection, perfect, I got you. When you have good habits, the relationship will naturally become special. But where people get it wrong is they attach the success of the relationship to the person. They think that person is this special person. We have this unique connection. Our spark is so special. The spark is a byproduct of the correct habits. Special relationships are a result of special and good, healthy habits. Put those in any relationship and they'll turn out great.
If you could change one societal norm regarding dating or relationships, what would it be?
I think it would be the hookup culture. I think I really would. I think it kind of dehumanizes the opposite gender. We are essentially just normalizing the concept of mutual masturbation. It's just two people masturbating that happen to be in each other's presence. It's not actually connection. It's not actually love. It's not actually what intimacy is designed for. So if I could change one norm, it would be the hookup culture. Actually, I take it back. This is what I really would change: pornography. I would think it stems from pornography, because that is putting out the smoke but not the actual fire. Pornography is the thing I would always change. I've very rarely ever done an interview where I haven't barked on and on about pornography. I'm being a bit careful here because I know our audience is different, and certain things are blocked, so thank God certain things are blocked. But pornography is the downfall of masculinity in men. And the moment pornography was introduced, masculinity was reduced. And as a result, we've got women running circles around men because they know that their lust is their decision maker. And if we just removed men's fixation with sexual gratification and pornography and perverse desires, women would lose all their power. If men became strong in their lust, there would be no woman that has control over men, and men would remain the leaders and would remain in an environment where masculine men exist and feminine women are following the leadership. But because men are following their lust, who is in charge? Women. You've got one OnlyFans creator with 500,000 subscribers, one woman leading 500,000 men. You've got one woman that posts a thirst trap and 1 million male followers who send her messages. That one woman leads 1 million men. How can we ever have a constructive society when men are following women and following their vagina? What kind of man are you going to become? What kind of life are we going to create? So if there's one rule I would do is take away a woman's power. How can you do that? Take away the power of pornography. How can you do that? Take away men are being led by lust. Remove that from them and they'll get their masculinity back.
I do think pornography is a very dangerous thing.
Very dangerous.
Generally.
Yeah, the dark hole is endless, and it's endless pleasure seeking, endless. And the problem is they'll get to 50, 60, 70 years old, and men that have grown up with it, they'll get to 70 years old, still crave 18-year-old bodies, because that's what they're seeing all day, every day.
It's also, there's another angle to it. There is this whole research or article about how the whole world, if you really break it down, it's run after, it's a sexual hunt or a sex drive.
Yeah.
The whole life, how you dress is because you want sex appeal. And as creatures, you want to, like a peacock, and you want a good car, you want success to impress. So it's all driven by sex or sexual desire. The problem with pornography is when you keep making it so accessible for these teenagers, they don't even try anymore.
No.
They don't go and talk to the girl and be sweet and give her a flower or check on her. He has a resort somewhere else.
Yeah.
So he doesn't need to invest and put effort.
And the worst thing is they'll come to me and say, I've been celibate. I haven't touched a girl in 4 years. And I'm like, when was the last time you watched porn? This morning, but I don't touch girls. At least I don't touch girls. I say, it's better you touch girls. The reason why women is so much better than pornography is because women give you feedback. They will tell you what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong. They teach you something as a man. What pornography will do is just teach you what you desire and not teach you what you actually need, what you require to get what you desire. So it's such a poor coping mechanism that men have just attached to. And the bigger problem with it is what it does to a man's sexual performance. you'll see 27, 28-year-olds now taking Viagra. How on earth is a 27-year-old requiring Viagra? And they'll say, oh, it's just because this, and they'll make a bunch of excuses. But if at 27 years old, 30 years old, even 40, you shouldn't really need Viagra, you're removing your own manhood. It's castrating yourself by doing that. And what then happens is they get performance anxiety with real women, because they're like, oh no, she's gonna realize that I can't keep it hard, or whatever it is. So they avoid women even more. And how do you get an angry, useless man? You take him away from women. He's got no use then. He's just by himself watching nonsense. So this is why it's so dangerous.
It's a good answer. Your advice for someone who's about to fall in love?
Don't do it. No, I'm joking. Of course, fall in love is the most important thing ever. My advice would be to have a look at how your own personal insecurities might turn that love into attachment. And what you don't want is an attachment. What you really want is love. And what the difference is attachment is what this person provides for me, how this person can fill that void in my life. What love is how can we both contribute to each other's well-being. And only fall in love with somebody that you feel you provide value for, but equally they do it for you as well. We are both providing for equal value. If you are falling in love with someone and you're hoping and praying that they solve all your problems, that's not going to work. Or if you're hoping and praying that you solve all their problems and therefore they're going to be so impressed by you, that's not going to work either. So make sure that you have a healthy understanding of what love really involves before you do it.
If you meet a guy who's great, yeah? Let's say you're single, which you're not, but let's say you are. And you meet a really great guy, but he says, listen, Sadia, my rule is all of your previous, let's say you had 2 serious relationships before me, you delete all the pictures, all the videos, 0 history.
Yeah.
If you want to be with me.
Yeah.
You delete it or not?
Of course.
Why?
Because, look, like I said to you, how women have evolved. Where men have this kind of attachment to every woman that they've been with and want to keep a memory of her because like she was so special, blah, blah. Women are usually repulsed by their exes. Unless they're not over them. Yeah. So if she is not repulsed, she still has an attachment. We see exes completely different to how men do it. Men see it as she was a nice person. Why would I delete everything she ever did for me? She was a nice person. We see it as, if you don't hate her, you must be in love with her. Because for us, we're very binary. We either love you or hate you. If you're an ex, if we're over you, you should make us feel physically sick. The fact that you even had our number makes us feel sick. So if we still have softness towards you, it's because there's an attachment there. So we assume the same for a man. So why we get so offended by men's resistance to that is because our brain is a lot more binary. It's a lot more like we either love or hate. Your brain is a bit more like, but she was nice to me. She was nice to my mom. Why would I go beat her up? Blah, blah. But we see it as you must still be in love. So we can very easily detach, whereas men seem to think that it's a memory. And we just think, why would you want to evoke memories? Get rid of it. So I would say that it's probably healthy to erase.
Delete.
Has your wife asked, or has your girlfriend asked you to do that and you said no?
No. Okay. I just thought it's like I had a different answer to this question was I don't think it should be, it could be in a photo album, it could be on a computer somewhere, but it shouldn't be on your current device there. Memories show up. Oh, remember this and remember this Valentine. That's disrespectful. But if it's in a photo album or something of your ex-wife, I thought it was fine. It's your life, it's your journey, you know.
I think it's because men don't have so much of a negative responses to the exes the way women do. We're just so angry that we went near you that we find it easy to delete, or we should. And if we don't, then there might be some attachment.
If you had a dinner table with 3 guests, dead or alive, who would be on Sadia's table with you? Okay,
if I take the religious connotations, of course, I would always choose more religious, but to be more mainstream, I would say I do love Muhammad Ali. I really, really love Muhammad Ali. And the reason I love him so much is I couldn't understand how in that time in America where it was so racist, this young man was full of so much self-confidence. It was the most impressive thing I've ever seen. So I would definitely have Muhammad Ali on that table. Another person on that table, see, I'm not very good at like knowing celebrities or knowing people like that. But somebody else that would be impressive would be, I would still say Malcolm X. I really like what he stood for. I like the fact that, you know, of course they're both Muslim as well. I love that element of it. I would say Malcolm X. And the third person, any person that would be dead or alive, if I take religious figures out of it, what would I say? I would probably say like somebody like an ancient kind of emperor or something like that, like Napoleon. I would just want to know how they did it. I would want to know how and why they did what they did. I might even have somebody like, you know, somebody evil, an evil dictator, just to know how they managed to do what they did. How did they get away with it? How did they indoctrinate, or how did they massacre so many people and do it? So those would be kind of the people, the noble people, but also the kind of more insidious and evil people, just to understand how they managed to do what they did. Who would be on your list?
I won't answer you.
Why?
Because we're going to stay 4 hours.
That's true.
Yeah, it would be an interesting table also. Did you see the man or bear thing on TikTok?
Yes, I did.
What would you choose?
I would choose a man. I would obviously choose a man. I'm not
It's
going to
crazy,
die
man.
over it. I'm not going to have a bear. He's going to murder me.
You're the only one probably who said man.
I just think, look, here's the thing with women and social media in general. Being a sheep is so positive. Being a sheep is so rewarded. Just following the trend is like, oh, I would choose a bear. I would choose a bear. Like, I mean, look, you're going to die with a bear. With a man, there's a chance of you surviving. Yeah,
That's our logic.
There's the logic, and look, not every man is a rapist. Yeah, there's some men
That's
that
my
are
video. You're saying my video, literally.
Yeah, there's some men that are terrified of women. I'm such an intimidating woman, as a woman, right? He should be more worried if he was stuck with me than anything else. If you see me with a man, be worried about him. I'm good, I'm Gucci. It's him you need to worry about. So if you are so weak as a woman, you're going to be terrified of every man. You are going to be so terrified of every man. But when you are a woman who has value, what will happen is you will learn the skill set that everyone should learn, is the ability to communicate with all types of people. When you have the art of communication, you will not be terrified of someone, a man, woman, young, old, whatever it is. You will learn something. Now, of course, if you're telling me, would you rather be with a serial rapist or serial killer or a bear, I would choose a bear, of course. Yeah, I'd rather die from a bear than die from a man. And fair enough. But if you're saying a regular man, you can't have a normal conversation that's non-sexualized with a man. What's wrong with you as a woman? If you don't know how to desexualize your relationship with men, then you're a problem. I have an uncanny skill of friend zoning myself. When I talk to men, I have an ability to make myself a friend. I have an ability to desexualize the relationship completely, where that he sees value in me outside of my appearance, outside of sex. So if you can't do that as a woman, that's a problem in you. And if you think you're just going to be this sex object and a man sees you and he's just going to rape you, then what, you are not providing any value outside of your appearance. Because I've managed to go my whole life without being in that position, and it's not that hard.
What's the most emoji you use?
The laughing emoji. One secret about me is, outside of all this seriousness, one thing that people, when they do meet me and they get to know me, all my friends always say to me is, isn't it funny how on social media you never show your sense of humor? You never show like you joking jokes or anything like that. I'm like, yeah, I know, it's just not really relevant. They're like, could you imagine if they knew the real you? The real me is a far more lighthearted and far more funny and a far more like non-serious. But my skill set and my work is very serious.
Okay. You have the ABtalks card game? Let's do that. Okay. So I'm gonna get you one of those.
What's this?
This is our card game.
Oh,
So
amazing.
let's do.
Can I have one?
Yeah, one is waiting for you.
Yeah, okay.
Mix.
Yeah. Oh, it's Arabic as well? It's Arabic and English? Amazing. Should I pick one? Or are you going to
I'll pick the first one for you. What causes you stress in your life? Don't answer. Throw.
Throw this?
Throw.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
It's,
Be open.
Be open.
What causes you stress in your life?
Babies. I need children. ASAP.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm getting very close to stealing a fetus from someone. Okay, so that's. I've asked many people. There must be a way to buy a baby somewhere in Dubai. No, if God's plan doesn't work, so children is.
It's funny how you answer so quickly.
Yeah, I know.
Choose one for the audience.
I'm like ChatGPT for the audience. Okay, yeah. It says.
And put it on this camera after you read it.
Oh, okay. So it says, what would you do if fear was not a factor and you could not fail?
What would you do if fear wasn't a factor and you couldn't fail? Put it on this camera.
Yeah.
Okay. That's for, let them comment on this one.
Comment.
Okay. Back to you as a person. Do you practice what you preach?
No, not always. There's some things I really practice and I'm very similar to. But when it comes to my temperament, I have a very volatile temper. I'm not a calm person at all. I'm very vocal and very confrontational. And, you know, so there's parts of me that are like very fiery and very confrontational. But the majority of the morality I tend to follow. Yeah, the moral compass of like, you know, not screwing people over, not dating men just for their money or not dating young girls just for their beauty. Those kind of things I do follow. But in terms of like, am I a peaceful partner that never does any, is totally submissive? Absolutely not. You need health insurance if you're going to date a woman like me. I'll drive you crazy. So, so some things yes, some things absolutely not. Of course.
And
not.
do you think that affects you as a coach?
I have an understanding of misbehavior, even though I might not do it myself, or I do. I have an understanding of toxicity because I bring some toxicity and I have that anxiety and I have that jealousy. So what helps me a lot is I understand the insecurities of a lot of people, particularly women, because I have them. If I didn't have them and I was just this really calm, collect, perfect relationship, perfect everything, how would I understand the pain of a difficult relationship and how would I be able to articulate some of the issues that a lot of people are going through if I didn't have it myself? So you need a little bit of it yourself.
What's the most hurtful thing somebody has told you?
My most hurtful thing, problem with me is I'm very indifferent to good or bad comments.
It could be when you were a kid.
Could be when I was a kid. I would say it's anytime my mum has not supported me. Anytime my mum has taken my sibling's side over me, or anytime like I felt like my voice wasn't heard and my mum kind of sided with my siblings over me, I would get hypersensitive to that. Hypersensitive to that. Because I was left out, I felt like I needed my mum always on my side because I'm alone. Like I would be like, you have to back me. So anytime she wouldn't, and anytime she would side with them or anything like that, I would really become somebody like super anxious, jealous, very devastated very quickly and easily, and that's still my trigger. Yeah, if I ever see where she's not supporting me, she's not being on my side, I'm like, I wish you weren't my mother, I wish I had a different mother. I started acting like a 5-year-old. So this is what I start doing.
What's a fear or an insecurity you've struggled with throughout your life?
Children, yeah, it's like, you know, having children, getting them out the way, really, I think children seems to be something that preoccupies my mind since I was young. And because I was young, but I was also so unstable, so I was like, oh my God, how do I quickly, let me just pretend to be stable just to get my kids out the way. But then I'm so anxious about the idea of a broken home because I know the impact it has on children. So I was waiting for it to be perfect, and then, you know, you still forget that you age. So I think that's been my biggest insecurity and worry. I don't know how people get through life without children. What do you do for the rest of your life? There's only so many restaurants you can go to and holidays you can plan before you start needing a legacy.
Yeah, I don't think everybody should be a parent, but I think it's one of the most beautiful miracles in the world if you have the competency for it.
Yeah, I agree. Not everybody's designed
Some
for
of them are shitty parents.
Yeah, I know.
They just create monsters.
That's true.
And you die and you leave a monster for this planet. Great.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, not everybody's designed to be a
You're
parent.
keen to be a mother, so it seems like there will be a student-esque approach. Like, I really want to be a good mother. I want to be with good kids. That's different. There are people who are indifferent. They just get pregnant.
That it's coming from a selfish place. I think the one person you can love endlessly and selflessly and not fear of getting hurt, I think, is your children. But they can hurt you too. I know they can, but it just feels safer than any other human on the planet because it's, even if they don't love you back and they're not perfect, it's not wasted love. Whereas any other relationship, you can feel a bit like, oh, I spent so many years loving that person and they hurt me, blah, blah, blah. But with children, even if you love them just one directionally, it doesn't feel wasted because at least they get a loving parent.
Sadia, what is one thing you're hanging on to that you know you should let go of?
I do feel like I am probably, I tend to worry a lot that, you know, that I'm getting, I tend to worry a bit about evil eye, which I shouldn't. Yeah, I tend to start to think, okay, somebody's going to give me bad eye, or this is gonna, and I kind of feel like I limit myself because of that. And I kind of always worry that like there's going to be negative energy and people are going to wish badly on me, and every success I'm going to have one day is going to just disappear because of the evil eye is going to come and it's just going to take it all off me. And as a result, I can't always embrace and appreciate the moment because I'm always waiting for the day that it's going to be ripped off me and then I'm going to be back to square one. So I wish I could embrace the blessings God's given me rather than worry about the day it might be taken off me.
What else is on my mind with you?
We've covered everything, right?
No, with you I can stay long. What's one of the best or the best advice somebody has told you?
Pick peace over pleasure in life in general. Short-term satisfaction will come from pleasure seeking. Yeah, you'll have a great weekend when you're pleasure seeking. You'll have a great month, you'll have a great holiday, you'll have a great meal. Pleasure seeking is fantastic, but what it does, it leads to a spike in your dopamine, but not in your serotonin. Become a peace seeker, and what peace seeking literally means is making decisions that you will not regret in the long run. Pleasure seeking has an element of I might regret that in the morning. Peace seeking means this will help me in the long run. And so I think switching your mindset from pleasure to peace is usually helpful.
It's a good one. Worst phase or moment in your life?
My worst phase is whenever I am fighting with people I love. Like whether it was like, I remember a year in my life where I was fighting with family, fighting with my partner, just fighting, in a state of fighting, like I was just in a confrontational stage. And it was when I wasn't achieving my potential in life. What was happening is I was in a job that I didn't particularly like, I didn't get paid particularly well, I wasn't going, like my life felt a little bit stuck. The moment I started fulfilling my potential in other areas of my life, I learned not to sweat the small things. I had a better purpose. I felt like I was fulfilling my potential. I feel like that right now, to be fair. I feel like I am fulfilling my potential. And what it's done for me is allowed me not to sweat the small things because my life has a bigger purpose and meaning than, oh, this person didn't invite me to this thing or this person left me out of that. It's like, it's okay. You've got other things to worry about. So I think that whenever you're not achieving your full potential in life, you become a person you don't like.
I'm curious about a question. Have you ever heard of Cocology Cube test?
No, what's that?
I'm curious about this one. Let's see. Let's see if you'll enjoy it. It's an imagination question. Okay. So let's do that with you. And then I'll explain.
Yeah.
But play along, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course.
Close your eyes. So, I haven't done this in a while, so let's enjoy it. Can you, Sadia, imagine a very plain desert? Nothing is there, not even you, nobody, nothing. It's just a desert. And then suddenly you see a cube appear. Can you describe the cube?
It's like a Rubik's Cube.
Okay, how big is it?
Small. It's quite small, but it's big because it's close to me, but if I throw it, it will be a normal-sized Rubik's Cube.
Okay, and is it on the surface? Is it sunken? Is it floating?
It's on the surface.
On the surface. Is it solid or hollow? Like you can see through, transparent or not?
Solid.
Solid. Okay, and then after you see the cube, you see a ladder appear. Where is the ladder?
On the right side of the cube.
Is it on the cube or separate?
Separate.
Is it taller than the cube or shorter?
Taller.
What is it made of?
Metal.
Is it old or new?
3 years old, like semi-used.
Okay, more than 12 steps or less?
12 steps, I would say.
Okay. Is it close to the cube or far?
Close to the cube.
Okay. After the ladder, you see a horse. Can you describe the horse?
It's a brown horse. It's quite majestic, black tail, black everything, and it's galloping towards the cube and the ladder.
Okay. Is it? Does it have a saddle or not?
No.
Okay. After the horse, you see flowers. Where are they?
They're growing out of the Rubik's Cube in between the horse and the ladder.
And many flowers or little?
Many.
Wilting or vibrant?
Vibrant.
Okay. And then you see a storm. Where's the storm?
Back behind everything, what's going on here, and it's starting to brew.
Is it affecting any of those elements?
Not right now.
Okay, open your eyes.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
She's so quick. This is probably the fastest
I am
cutest.
ChatGPT. My brain is weird, right?
Your brain is very fast, mashallah,
All praise be to God. All praise be
mashallah.
to God. Isn't it weird?
Yeah, mashallah. Like you
Subhanallah,
don't even
it's-
take a breath.
It's so weird. I don't know if they've got a jinn in my head or what it is, but it's wild.
Okay, I'll explain it now.
Yeah.
So it's done by a Japanese psychologist that plays on our subconscious. And then there's an explanation. So the cube is sense of self or ego. So you said small, so you're introverted, shy, modest, quiet, rather you blend in than stand out if it's small. Standing on the sand, stable, knows what they want from life and intend to get it, logical and precise, which is very you. Solid, know yourself, not easily manipulated and self-assured. The ladder is your family and friends. It's 12 steps, so few friends, but also entertains acquaintances. Old to 3 years, you said known your friends for a long time or you know each other well.
Yeah, actually, I've known you friends since 2022 on purpose because of coming online. So that's actually quite accurate.
Yeah, higher than the cube. You value friends and family highly and depend on them. Close to the cube, you resolve your problems without the help of family and friends. Okay. Horse, ideal partner. So it's interesting. Your partner was running towards you and to your family and friends. So he's coming towards you.
Yeah.
He wants to be close, I guess. No saddle. You view your partner as an uncontrollable and unpredictable. Glamorous horse.
Yeah.
You value outward appearance more and want someone that others also approve of. Moving towards the cube, a sign of a new relationship or the strengthening of bonds of an older relationship. And this is the most important part for you. Flowers, children.
Ah.
Yeah.
What does it say?
And they were coming out of you.
Oh, really?
The Rubik's Cube.
Inshallah.
Yeah, so you were the source. And it says you keep your children very close. This could be draining or heavy on you at times. Make sure you keep the balance.
Yes,
Because
very
you've
much
been
so.
yearning
I'm
for this so
overabsorbed
much.
with the thought of it.
And you will be very attached to them, so you need to balance it.
Yeah. My
A
husband says the same thing. He's like, they won't know how to be able to breathe because of you.
And that's good to know now.
Yes.
So that you don't get overexcited.
God willing, yeah.
A vibrant blossoming garden reflects the health and prosperity of your children as well as your relationships with them. So inshallah.
Inshallah.
And storm is fear, stress, and anxiety vaguely in sight. You are at a more peaceful inner place. However, the closer the storm, the closer the immediate threat. Doesn't affect anything. You consider any threat manageable and have the confidence in your ability to resolve matters.
I do. I always make terrible decisions, but I'm like, I'll fix it, don't worry.
So it's a good test.
It's a fantastic test.
You can use it with a lot of your patients.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And it's very telling of how honest people are after your session.
Yeah.
If you end with this because it's their subconscious.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
see
It
how
tells-
are they
It tells them
contradicting?
everything. Where did you get that from? What is that called?
It's called the Cocology Cube Test. You'll find it
Cocology.
online.
Ah, amazing.
It's so cool.
Amazing. Yeah, so cool.
And I use it with some guests.
Yeah.
When, Sadia, was the last time you hugged your dad?
Oh, on my way back to Dubai, which was on, what day did I come back? On the 29th of September, I believe. Yeah, so then I hug him. But it's a hug like he hugs like that and then he gets emotional and starts crying and then he'll wave from the door and it's just like, Dad, we do this every 3 months. Can we move on from this? But he hates the idea that I live in a different country. He hates it. So he's never gotten used to it. So he does this ritual of like crying and then standing by the door and then doing his little hard hug and then bye.
Oh, you're the close one to him?
No, we were all quite close to him. We were all quite close to him, but he is a dad. Like, he is kind of like, we run out of things to talk about. He's incredibly boring, but we love him. It's like, he's just not a life and soul party. He's just like, are you okay? Have you eaten? Have you made money? Are you saving money? Are you doing this? Are you that? It's that kind of conversation, but we love him for it. Yeah, very serious person. What, is your dad serious?
Yeah, he's polite.
Oh, that's
You
sweet.
know? Yeah, he's nice.
He's
a
nice.
guy.
That's sweet.
Who is someone you lost and every time you remember them, your heart aches?
Nobody, if I'm honest. All praise be to God. I haven't had any deaths that I've experienced. That's the first thing. Second thing is when I truly love someone, I try not to lose them. Say if it's a friend or someone like that, I resolve the conflict. So if I have lost you, it's because I no longer have that heartache for you.
I mean, pass away.
No, luckily I haven't experienced any
Alhamdulillah.
deaths. All praise be to God. I think God knows my heart can't quite take it. So He's preserved me. I've always prayed, it's a weird prayer, but I've always prayed that I go first because my heart can't take deaths very well.
It's the same way you thought you can resolve problems.
You find a way?
There is, I think it's an ayah from the Quran, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Yeah. That God won't burden you with something you can't handle.
I know. God.
Okay, if inshallah you have a very long life, so this is a hypothetical question. If tonight is your last night,
Yeah.
and you don't have the opportunity to communicate with anyone, what is something you wanted to say to someone and you couldn't? And you would regret not saying?
It would probably be related to my parents, just probably be a bit more grateful for everything that they do and have done in my life. So I'd probably just keep it with my parents. I could never really be grateful enough. So they would probably be the people I try and show them quite a lot, but I could always do more. And I'm very lucky with aunts, uncles, all of these people in my life. So I would really show a lot of love and appreciation to the people in my life that I have learnt so much from. A lot of the time people ask me, where do you get all this knowledge and where do you get all this information? All of it comes from the people in my life. I'm so connected to them. They are so open and honest with me that I get such a range of perspectives. If it wasn't for them in my life, I'd have none of this information. You can only study so much. You need human interaction. And that human interaction is what's given me such a plethora of perspectives. So I'd really show a lot of appreciation to my parents first, but then everybody that's contributed to
Which one of your parents you need to show more?
My dad. I think I could always show more towards my dad. My mum, I kind of do show it because she's quite easy to converse with. But my dad, it's kind of like I take a lot from him, but I don't always say thank you because he's a bit like, you don't need to thank me, I'm your father, that's a stupid thing to say, blah, blah. But I would love for him to know that I am very grateful. I'm very grateful for everything he's done.
How vulnerable are you as a human?
I'm very open but not vulnerable. One thing with me is I'll tell you everything in my life. I'm very, very open. I'm an oversharer. I explain everything, but you won't see emotion when I'm doing it. I can say the saddest, most worrying thing, and I'll say it like, oh, guess what happened to me? I just got murdered, blah, blah, and I'll say it very like no vulnerability whatsoever. I have a way of narrating my own life without emotional connection to it. It's almost like a narrator from an external perspective, and I don't know why I do that. Yeah, it's a weird thing. Even if I've gone through the worst thing, I relay it with zero emotion about what's happened and just in a factual way, like a storyteller.
You think it's a protective mechanism?
Yeah, I've always been somebody, I hate pity. I'm the opposite of a victim. I'm the opposite. I will do anything but not be a victim. I will always be like, oh, I did this, like this happened to me, but I just don't like the idea of somebody feeling sorry for me. I don't gain anything from that. I don't feel loved in that moment. So what I do is I disassociate emotion from it so the other person can't show any emotion. Because I'm so normal about it that they're almost like, okay, it's probably not that bad. But when they hear it, they're like, why are you so normal about this? I'm like, it's all right, it happens. It's weird, isn't it? It's very masculine.
It is?
Yeah, I have a very masculine nature.
But you're a princess behind it.
You think so?
100%.
What does that mean?
Meaning, see, women like you are kind of screwed. And I don't mean it in a pessimistic manner. I mean it in a rare, how do I explain this? Women like you grow up, God knows why, that they have to assume masculine roles, right? So they become tough women, very successful, very independent, mindset is strong, impressive, strong woman. They can carry a society, you know? Now, the problem in current situation is you have very feminine men.
Yeah.
a feminine man is very intimidated by a Sadia. He doesn't like you.
No.
Because he can't, and now you are turned off physically, mentally, because this guy is not dominant and he's not an alpha male and he can't just get
Yeah, I
you.
can't connect with that. Yeah.
And you will never be vulnerable and switch off until you find a man who can do that to you.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you're a diva, you're a princess, you're a little girl.
Yeah.
You want to enjoy being feminine because the outside world you're Iron Man.
Yeah.
But at home you want to be a princess.
Yeah.
But who is safe enough to give me that environment that I can be this girl?
Yeah. That's why it took me so long.
Yeah.
It was why it took me so long, and people are like, oh, but you know, why did it take you so long? Because it's not easy. It's like sometimes you can get, it's almost a curse being very strong.
In this current world, it's tricky.
It's tricky.
And a lot of the alpha male can be, it's an illusion, but he's just a narcissist, toxic masculine guy. And women like you can fall for that thinking, oh, finally a masculine man. It's a facade.
Yeah.
Then he's narcissistic, he's abusive emotionally, and you're like, shit, next.
Yeah, it's not been
Until you find maybe healthy
a
masculine.
good balance. Yeah, a good balance.
Guy,
It took a while, but we got there in the end.
Okay, good.
All praise be to God.
Good. Okay. Last day of your life. And you can only have one person with you holding your hand. Who would you choose?
My nephew. I know that sounds so silly, but he's the closest thing to a baby to me. I would choose my nephew over everybody on the planet. He's adorable, and he's my closest thing to a child. So if I had a child, I'd say child. I should say my husband, but he understands this obsession I have with my nephew. He truly understands it. He's like, oh God, I know I can't compete with that, but I would choose my nephew. He's only 4 years old, but he's the most handsome, loving, kind baby in the world. So I would choose him over everybody on the planet. And my parents even know that. They know that I only come home for him now. So they know that. So unfortunately, he comes first, and then the rest of the world follows, because I wouldn't get to see him grow into an adult. So that's why I would choose him over and above everyone.
It's beautiful.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so. It's not silly at all.
No.
No.
And the thing is, he doesn't even acknowledge me. He'll walk straight past me when he comes home. I get on a flight. I've quarantined before just to go see him. That boy could care less if I'm dead or alive. But I'm obsessed with him. I'm truly obsessed with him.
The second thing I noticed about you is you are very emotional, but it's very covered.
Yeah, I am. I'm sensitive.
And when it's so covered, it will come out in bursts. And that's why you'll get suddenly maybe angry with somebody in your
that's why
family.
I'm
And suddenly, because it's so pent up, but it's there.
Yeah.
But it's somewhere.
Somewhere in there, somewhere.
And then
but this is where the masculine side of me is that instead of bursting out into tears, I'm angry. I get, my emotion is anger. Kind of like how a man would be. They don't burst into tears, but they might have a tantrum, or they might get aggressive really quickly. I tend to have that nature. So there's a real masculinity in me, which is why I'm kind of like, that's not masculine, that's not, it's because I'm like a man inside myself. So I'm kind of like non-binary myself, because I've got this really masculine nature, which is really weird because I look feminine. And I'm kind of, people are always like, oh, you're so feminine, teach me how to be feminine. I was like, I don't know how to be, I can teach you how to be a man. But being feminine is, I'm actually very, very masculine mentally.
How would you want people to remember you?
I would just, being helpful. No, I do think being helpful, being a very useful human being. I have a lot of use. I'm never a nobody. I'm a very useful person. Whether, even if it's like entertaining people, I can come and entertain a group, or if it's like solving a problem for you, if you've got any kind of issues, I can help you. Wherever I can help you, even if it's financial, you need some financial support, I got you. You never have to ask twice. I got you. No worries about it. So I think the utility that I provide people in their life is quite helpful.
Sadia in one word.
Complicated. A complicated contradiction.
Why would you say that?
Only because it's, I don't follow what would make sense. Everything just doesn't make sense. It's like you're feminine but masculine, you're like traditional but Western, you're like intelligent but not intelligent. I've got no common sense. Weirdly, I've got zero common sense. So there's so many contradictions in one human being that it's very complicated.
But it's what makes you beautiful.
All praise be to God.
Yeah, it's our unique quirks.
Yeah, I guess.
And if we embrace them, we stand out. And if we shy away from them, we're sheep.
Yeah.
So that's what would make you different.
Yeah, no one can call me a sheep. They can call me anything else, but sheep is a very rare term to use for my behavior. I'm a menace. I'm a bit of a mental terrorist.
Thank you, Sadia.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate you.
We did 2 hours and 30.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Did that go fast? Or I'm sorry, you guys.
No,
might
you're
be asleep.
fast.
Yeah.
You're fast.
Yeah, I'm so fast.
And I wanted also, Sadia,
Yeah.
of course I can get into the person a lot. I wanted the 50-50
Yeah.
or a 40-60 where you have so much that you can help people with. And that's why you saw with the red card, I really went into where can I really squeeze Sadia to help.
Oh, inshallah.
But then I didn't want to forget you also as a human.
Yeah,
so your
thank
childhood and what you want and your baby want and all of this.